This is going to be a long video. In this video, I'm going to be diving headfirst into the sound type rabbit hole, covering every aspect of this type, including your input and comments. This isn't necessarily a pitch. I'm not trying to convince you that sound is a good idea, even though I will be. But really, we're going to be looking at all sides, all aspects of sound type and seeing what comes out of it. So if you don't want to sit through however long this video is, I've split this up into sections, so you can skip to whatever part piques your interest, or whatever section piques your interest. This video probably will be best enjoyed as kind of like a podcast, so you can just like listen to it while you're doing something else or whatever. Also, this is a part 2 video, so if you haven't seen part 1, it's good. With that humbly being said, why don't we just transition into the first sequence. So in this section, we're going to be re-evaluating the choices I made in the first video for what the type matchups for sound type would actually be, or should actually be. Starting off with the very concept around what I based my reasonings around, which is density. In the original video, I said that sound would be super effective against types that are denser in material, because sound travels faster through denser material, which is true. And I used that logic to nerf steel and water, which were some of the stronger type. I thought it worked out really conveniently, however, as some comments pointed out to me, such as Chinchillin, which was that just because sound travels faster through denser material doesn't mean it actually affects the material itself. Which is true. Obviously, blasting sound into the ocean isn't really going to do much, or against steel. But these comments did kind of make me reevaluate some things. I think ice is still going to be super effective against sound. I'm actually more confident of it now than I was in the previous video. First of all, as comments pointed out to me, ice is actually less dense than water, so the density argument works in favor of it. Then there's also the snow argument, which I brought up in the OG video of how snow is an insulator of sound. Insulator. Insulator. A lot of comments got on my back about that. I was saying insulator. Insulator. So that still applies. And then also sound travels slower in colder climates. Adamno1 commented, I think sound should be immune/resist fire, since sound travels faster in hotter temperatures. For the opposite reason, ice resisting sound also makes sense. So yeah, sound travels slower in colder climates. Not only the fact that ice is less dense than water, not only the snow absorbing sound, not only the colder climates, but also when it's cold, it's kind of hard to speak. Like a symptom of hypothermia is slurred and slowed speech, and like when you're outside, it's kind of cold. It's like hard to speak a little bit. So then there's that. So I think it's locked in that ice would be super effective against sound. Except there are some comments that disagree with me on that, so I'll quickly touch on them. I said I would look at both sides. Pierce McHugh says, sound echoes in snow for miles, that's how you get an avalanche. And Justin Montana says, I don't actually think sound would be weak to ice. The thing you said about sound moving better through denser material, that applies to molecules as well. Sound actually travels faster through cold air, because the molecules in the air are slower and closer together. I'll grant you the snow point, but there's pretty much only snow attack in powder snow, and maybe blizzard, but that's more of a general cold wind than a hail and hail than snow. Every other move focuses on ice or wind. Honestly though, I feel like sound type works best as a subtype of normal, if only making sound is one of the most normal things for something to do. So let's look at both of these. So sound does echo for a while in the Arctic because sound does bounce off of hard snow, which is like ice. But when it is softer, when the snow is softer, it can absorb up to 60% of sound. And from what I've found online, noise or sound isn't like one of the main triggers of avalanches. I think it's mostly a myth. But and in terms of sound traveling faster in colder air, again, from what I found, I don't think it does travel faster, but I think it travels farther. So you're probably right in a sense that sound can travel longer distances in a colder environment. This is a quote from discovery.com. On a cold day, there tends to be a layer of warmer air above the cold pockets closest to the ground. So when you shout to a friend down the street or hear your bus finally arriving, the sound wave that would ordinarily go out in all directions get refracted by the warm air because the sound moves faster in warm air than colder air, so the wave bends away from the warm air and towards the ground. That's why sound is able to travel farther in chilly weather. So basically when the air is hotter, the sound will travel faster and kind of get like refracted and move all over the place and like hit the ground, whereas when it's colder air, it's not going to be moving as fast. It's going to be much more steady, so it's not going to bend and it's going to travel farther. So you're right in a sense that sound does kind of benefit from a cold environment with it being able to go further. But if we're going from my logic of how fast the sound travels is the more like damage in quotes it does, which isn't true IRL necessarily, but that's what we're going with for like the explanation of the game mechanics. And I think my reasoning is still good, which still works in favor of my balancing argument. That's ice out of the way, but what about bug? In the OG video, I said that most bugs were deaf in real life, which is true, except for a type of bug called singing bugs, which are actually more common than I kind of thought. Some examples are crickets, cicadas, and Okeanthus fullertoni, bro. So this point is kind of 50-50, I don't know. Most bugs are deaf, but also crickets and cicadas are most certainly not, so take it how you will, I guess. I personally think it still kind of makes sense. Like, most bugs, the vast majority of bugs are actually deaf. And lastly, grass. YouTube shit age comments, it doesn't make sense because grass and bugs are denser than water. While that is true, foliage in trees and grass still diffuse and absorb sound energy. A quote by Washington Post, turf grass or other low vegetation has a muffling effect on sound. Compared with surface areas of bare soil or various paving materials, which are more likely to bounce the sounds off their surfaces. So grass is still a lock-in because like literally actually the physical grass absorbs sound, so I think grass is still should be super effective against sound. Ice, bug, and grass are still good, but what about all the ones that you said sound type would be super effective against, not the ones that are super effective against it? Well, in the OG video I said steel, ground, water, and rock because they're denser, obviously. In the original video I didn't say rock, but I kind of added it in editing because I forgot to include it. So let's see what you guys said. I guess going back to Chinchillin's point, that just because an object is denser doesn't mean that sound should be super effective against it, because it doesn't necessarily mean that the object is damaged when sound passes through it faster, which is true, but I still think it works, and it's a consistent way of explaining what sound would be super effective against. And one of the types I brought up was steel, but in my mind, as I was writing the original video, I did think to myself, well, yes, steel is dense, but wouldn't sound bounce off it rather than actually like traveling through it? When kids think of what sound type would be super effective against, steel and water doesn't really make sense. It's kind of confusing. The Big Chungus, I'm honored, commented, sound would not be super effective against water as sound is muffled in water, which is kind of true but not entirely. Sound is actually more clear and faster and louder in water, but since our ears are evolved to hear sounds in the air, obviously underwater it's going to sound muffled. If a whale tried to hear sounds in the air, it would sound extremely muffled compared to what it hears in the water. In fact, that's actually how whales can communicate to each other across like such vast distances, because sound travels so well underwater. But a kid playing Pokemon, obviously his experience with sound is, well, you can't hear underwater, you can't speak well underwater, so why is sound super effective against water when it should be the opposite? Which of course is a valid point. After all, kids don't or wouldn't know about the properties of sound. I mean, I didn't before I researched the video, so they wouldn't know about like, oh, density and sound moves faster, tighter molecules. They'd be like, what the f are you saying? Sound doesn't hurt steel and rocks, sound hurts people and glass. And I don't really have a counter argument to that. My only defense is that like the games do tell you the type matchups now, so it makes it easier to tell like, you know, what the type matchups are to kind of stop it from being confusing, but yeah. Alright, so let's go on to steel. Well, steel is actually one of the fastest materials sound can travel through. Also, steel is really good at carrying sound waves. While stuff like foam, of course, absorbs sound, steel is solid yet really elastic. It can be bent. So steel is actually a really good material to allow sound to travel through. Like some musical instruments are made from steel, like the handpan, or other words called a hang, which is a steel pan percussion instrument, and wind chimes, which are made usually out of like aluminum or steel. So if something is really symbiotic with sound, it definitely wouldn't be super effective against it. Like steel definitely wouldn't be super effective against sound because it's kind of amplifying it. But then again, the steel isn't being hurt by the sound. Like fire, like plants kind of fuel fire, but the plants are actually getting destroyed in the process. The steel isn't getting destroyed in any way. So would it really be weak to sound? And honestly, I don't know, so I'm gonna let you guys decide. Personally, I say yes, just because of like, I don't know, type matchups in Pokemon are weird, man. Like, sometimes it's just the weirdest explanation, so I'm gonna say yes. I think it's still okay that even though steel, water aren't actually getting physically damaged from sound, I think it's still a good explanation. Now, with that out of the way, we can read more comments. Alrighty, we're gonna be going through some comments. This is just gonna be on the fly, no script. Literally just going through them and responding on the spot live. Not completely live, obviously, but... First one is from Lorenzo Terrasi. I am not convinced. This is a good, well-constructed video, but it's built assuming Pokemon's type structure is flawed and needs further balance. I don't believe so. Balancing doesn't mean every type has to be a similar number of weaknesses and super effectivenesses. As an example, I think Ice type is fine as it is. Yeah, okay, just before I continue, I think I agree. I don't think I actually really buffed Ice type all that much. Like, I think where Ice type actually is weak is in the defense department. It's not very good defensively. So buffing Ice type moves is kind of like buffing Water type, because Water type has, you know, is the primary user of Ice type moves, like competitively, whereas like Ice types aren't really used that much because Water type is just better. So that's kind of like, I tried to address that with the fact that Sound type is good against water and is weak against ice, so that kind of gives ice a bit more of a defensive advantage and gives water a bit more of a weakness. I think in hindsight it may not have been perfect, but the intention was there. Okay. Ice type attacks are really common because they're super effective against dragon, flying, ground ice types. Ice types trade away its defensive prowess to gain a lot of offensive potential. Yeah, it most definitely has its place in the meta. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Similar arguments can be made for bug and rock type. Ooh, okay. Bug type. I don't really think about bug type has much presence in the meta, but anyway. With Scizor, yeah, like there are obviously specific Pokemon, but like the vast majority of bug types are just shit. That also is like due to the fact that bug types are like generally very early kind of stage Pokemon. Like you find them often at like the start of the game. They're quite like low stats, so like that contributes, but it also has to contribute to the fact that bug is weak to flying, it's weak to fire, it's weak to, what else is it weak to? Rock, probably. It's weak to a lot of common stuff, so. And Tyranitar, to show every type has its place with the right type combo or stat. This kind of asymmetrical balance is way better than a flat balance with all the types having roughly the same properties. That's true. I don't think that it would create a perfectly flat balance, but would that be a good thing? I don't know. But you know, I don't think the Pokemon meta is like actually terrible. It's probably pretty good. So I'm just saying, like, it had the potential. Sound type has the potential to kind of balance it out even more. That would also allow a lot less care to be in team building phase. Defensively weaker types also allow Pokemon with crazy good stat spreads not to be. Good Pokemon design should take account of that. That brings me to why Pokemon feels and most definitely is not balanced. The power creep in the overall design. Don't forget the masterminds who brought us the latest gen and said yes to Dynamax, Guerrilla Tactics, and Fish's Rend. And it definitely shows the issue is not the typing system. Okay, yeah. I mean, I agree with that. Like, that the issue is not the typing system. It's kind of grander. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. No, I don't disagree. Next comment is from Thundercracker. I don't care what type they add. It needs to be super effective against Steel and Fairy, and needs to be weak against Normal, giving a similar buff to Poison when Fairy was added. Yeah, in the original video, I kind of touched on how Fairy could be weak because of noise pollution. Like, I said it in like 5 seconds and I moved on. But yeah, I agree. Sound probably should be super effective against Fairy. The reason I didn't do it is because there was so many things it was super effective against already that I was like, yeah, like having 5-6 types that it's super effective against, that's like a lot. It's gonna make it a very, very OP type. But yeah, of course, fairy could be one. And then he also touched on like it needs to be weak against normal. I personally don't think. I think normal does need a buff for sure. But normal does need a buff. But I don't think sound would be weak against normal. I'm trying to think like what type they could add that would be weak against normal. You know what I mean? Like what's weak against normal? Like light type, rubber, like probably something artificial. Definitely something artificial, like tech type for sure. It would be because humans created tech. Anyway, moving on. Wilhelm Kreese commented, make fairy weak instead of psychic. True. Absolute facts. Yeah, psychic doesn't need another weakness, does it? And then Aiden Curry commented, can't wait for the overpowered sound/fire type to dominate competitive. I didn't think about that, but you know what? It probably would. It probably would dominate a sound fire type. And what would a sound fire type be? Probably Pyro. Or there'll probably be a few. Firecracker, like a firecracker Pokemon. Fireworks, I mean. Yeah, we just have to make it weak stats, I guess. That one person you know, the one, commented, I think instead of resisting, sound should be super effective against sound, because similar frequency sound waves in the opposite direction to one another cancels them out, called destructive interference. And yeah, that's a real thing, and I think playing off that concept, instead of super effective, I think immune would be cooler. And someone else commented, Rayum A. Akif commented, sound should be immune to itself because of noise cancellation. Yeah, 100%. That would be super cool. I'd love to see that. Charlie Phoenix comments, I feel like sound should be super effective to fairy, considering that in few movies, sound is an answer to hurt otherworldly monsters in a few movies. Plus, fairy desperately needs a nerf. It's so unbalanced. Edit. Also, as much as I love that Rillaboom would be perfect as a dual sound grass type, I feel like that it would just make the Rillaboom much stronger in competitive standpoint than he is now. Yeah, for sure, Fairy should def get that sweet nerf. And you know what? It's kind of hard to add a new type without literally considering every Pokemon that's going to get affected. But Pokemon Company could figure all that out. They could figure it out, whatever. They've got massive teams that can do that. Wakoya. I think that's how you pronounce that. Wakoya. This comment by says, type advantage wise, a sound type would end up just buffing fire, and therefore water, since it's the best counter without being weak to many stuff, yet would nerf steel. Fire is super effective versus bug, grass, ice, and steel, making it a viable option to counter mostly everything sound brings to the table. Water would be used to counter fire. Water also has ice type moves to counteract its sound weaknesses. Then it would be a toss-up between electric and ground. Ground would be a huge pit and a massive double-edged blade, as it would be useful against fire, which would be thriving from this change, yet is weak against water. Electric would counter water, while also considering water. It's such an Australian pronunciation. Water. While also countering flying, and being neutral to most other types, making people want to use ground. Since the goal when making a team is to follow a specific strategy or to focus on the type changes, this will be the likely outcome. Psychic would remain mostly unchanged, and this isn't counting movesets and mon stats, but others have already brought problems with those topics as well. So I guess my kind of implementation of sound would kind of mess up the meta from this comment's perspective, and I don't really have a counter argument to that. I guess like, make sure you do it good, Pokemon, when you definitely implement this type. Make sure you actually do it good. And don't mess up all this intricate stuff. So throughout this video, you're going to hear from my friend Dominic. He is a fellow sound type connoisseur and very knowledgeable on Pokemon. We're going to have little cuts throughout the video of like our discussion. We had like a long, multiple hour discussion on sound type. So I'm just going to be cutting up little segments from that and like dispersing it throughout the video. You'll know when it happens because you'll hear his voice and whatever. But and one of those times is now. So let's cut to a segment that we recorded from our discussion. I'm here with Dominic and we're doing a video discussion on sound type. You'll probably see Dominic. Well, you will see Dominic more on the channel. Um, so yeah, take it away.
Thanks, Mitch.
No
Yep,
worries.
I'm Dominic, and this is my PowerPoint I came up with a while back on SoundType, and I kind of wanted to show it to Mitch and get his opinion on things. So, well, I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek there with the type interactions. Shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So, like you mentioned in your video, and kind of what I mentioned earlier, um, I wanted to use SoundType to kind of help balance um, the game a bit. Um, And the two types I have a grudge against are electric and water types because they have so few weaknesses.
That's fair.
So I thought I would come up with see if I could find a reason as to why sound would be stronger against it. And what I came up with was, sound needs a medium to travel through, and when sound travels through water, it travels at a faster rate.
Yep.
So the idea would be that like sound moves will almost be amplified when they're in water, so they become more powerful. So then water types are weak to it. Then kind of going in reverse here, I guess I'll just kind of go from right to left instead.
Okay.
Psychic, makes sense. Loud noises could make it so that the psychic Pokemon can't concentrate enough to get any moves off or something. So I felt psychic being weak made sense. Psychic's also quite a powerful type. And obviously, you can see down below there, I also think psychic could be strong against sound. Where it can be this kind of interesting interaction where they're strong against one another because if the psychic type's able to kind of use its powers on the sound type Pokemon before it can make a noise, and maybe it can use mind control or whatever to manipulate it so it doesn't make the loud noises that then hurt its concentration. So
Yeah,
that was kind of my thinking with like why like they had this kind of strong against each other kind of back and forth.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So then fire type. This is not really something I thought of like right out the gate, but after when I was kind of researching sound and everything, I learned that um, these these grad students out in California were trying to find ways to combat the wildfires,
Yeah.
and they came out with this idea of a sound-based fire extinguisher um, that would basically use like sound waves to dissipate like oxygen and like kind of snuff out the fires by kind of blasting them with sound waves.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really quite interesting. And I mean, it made a ton of sense when I kind of read the article. I read it a while ago, so I'm not as keen on it as I was then. But I thought it made a lot of sense after reading that article.
Yeah. And like if I was to remake my original video, I would definitely include fire, or at least I'll talk about it because like you mentioned that sound can be used to put out fires, and I looked into it after, and I think some states are even like trying to use it like as a like not just from the college experiment, but also people actually using it, which is cool. But also like just to touch on like the density argument, that sound travels faster through denser material. Sound also travels faster through like heated, like warmer temperatures because the molecules are moving faster, which makes the sound travel through faster. So sound would travel really fast through fire as well. So just applying that, sound would also be super effective against fire. So it makes a lot of sense.
Damn, that's really cool. I didn't know that actually, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. That's interesting. Yep, definitely gonna be hot fire, be weak to it for sure then. Definitely.
Yeah. And electric.
Yeah, electric. I was trying to look up, ways to justify why electric would be weak to sound. This is probably the hardest one for me. This is probably the biggest reach I'm making. I just don't like that electric is only weak to ground. I think it needs at least one other weakness. Um,
That's a good point.
maybe maybe it's just me being a little petty, but um, I think it kind of made sense, kind of like interaction, maybe sound waves and like electricity um, and maybe like there's probably some sort of interaction there that kind of they disrupt one another maybe. And I mean, if you have it high enough sound, it can like it can break. Um, it can
Power
like
lines, maybe.
break like a machine or something if
Yeah.
like the frequency is so high. Like it could cause things to break. And I kind of associate electric type and machinery together. Um, so that's kind of where I was coming from there. But like I said, not my strongest argument, unfortunately.
I think electric. Well, I said in my video that electric would be resistant to sound because like electric is kind of symbiotic with it because it's it powers speakers and it powers like musical instruments and stuff. So there definitely is some kind of relationship there.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Like I can totally see why someone would say like electric should be like even like should be super effective against sound even because um like you know light travels faster than sound, like things like that. I'm like, yeah, okay, like
Yeah.
I can understand why. But just me in my own like little headcanon here, just trying to make electric a little less strong. I was trying to figure out a way to do it. So yeah, kind of a straw man, but um, that's my.
Yeah, I'm curious on fighting. Why fighting would resist sound?
So I think this is kind of where my wording was kind of bad here. It says resist, so I'm saying sound resists fighting.
Oh, okay.
And my reasoning behind that would be like you can't really fight like sound waves; they're invisible. You know,
Okay.
so you can't really punch a sound wave. That's kind of was my idea there.
That's fair.
But then at the same time, I also had this is kind of like my motif with this typing. It has this interesting dynamic where it like will resist something, but then it also will be like resisted by it as well. So that's where you can see that with like sound and fighting.
Yeah.
My idea though was also like that fighting would be so like focused on like the battle that it would resist sound because like it's just so honed in that it wouldn't be distracted. Like I
Yeah.
think of like a Hitmonchan like in a ring and like there's a big crowd yelling and they're fighting or whatever, and the Hitmonchan still laser focused, like does not care about all the noise. That was kind of my thinking there. So like, you can't punch like a sound wave but then like if you're super like really disciplined fighter, you're not going to be affected by the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I didn't think of that kind of like approach.
Yeah, and so then I had a sound resist flying. I'm trying to think like why I thought that. I just thought it made kind of sense. That wouldn't really be too affected by like a hurricane or something like that. You can still like hear sound through like gusts of wind, and like sound could resist it then because it sound still cuts through you know you know
I guess
wind, I guess, and things like that.
that's true. I think from my opinion, I think that it would be the opposite. Like flying should resist sound just because like going from what I said in my video with like the density, obviously air is probably the least dense thing on Earth besides like space, and also I guess like they could kind of fly away from the noise if like something's making a lot of noise. They kind of have that avenue to fly away. Like that's kind of what I would think, but I get where you're coming from with flying being resistant to sound.
Yeah, like I said, that's another one where it's kind of like not exactly super concrete. Like yeah, electric and flying are probably my weakest points. But the rest from here on out, though, I feel like are all pretty valid explanations as to why I put them where I put them.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Pokemon that are loud are going to be used to hearing loud noises. They're going to be used to like all the sounds. So I say sound resists itself.
Yeah.
It resists itself and it's resisted by itself. So
Yeah.
Another two-way interaction there.
And also like there's a thing called I don't know what the actual term is, but it's like noise cancellation. When two sounds are played at the same frequency, they kind of cancel each other out and it makes like no noise. So sound could be resistant because of that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense too, for sure. And then going into like what is strong against sound, I already kind of went into psychic a bit there already. So I don't really need to explain that again, but dark. So I know you've been thinking about like making a cosmic type video maybe.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can get in on that video too.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, before that exists, I think dark makes sense as sound can't travel through space because there's no medium to travel through. So
Right.
my idea was that like dark types represent nothingness. They're like it's a void. That's kind of where I thought like okay, I think sound would be weak to it because then their moves like can't really travel through it. And so actually, I play with the idea of making dark like immune to sound.
Ooh.
Um, I thought about that, but then at the same time, like like I said, it's not really space type, you know.
Mm.
People usually associate psychic more with space, anyways. So I'm like, I can't really justify it being actually immune, but I think I can make. I think the case is there where like sound needs a medium to travel through, and if like a dark type can like produce like a dark void in front of them, or like use a dark pulse, and that can kind of like cancel, like would like weaken or like even cancel in a
Yeah.
way like some of the sound waves. Like you probably couldn't block all of them, but you'd block some of them, so it would resist um, the sound type, and then also be strong against it.
Yeah. And yeah, I like your approach with like the void and like a void like sucking up sound. And but like a lot of comments would say the dark type should be weak to sound just because echolocation allows animals to see in the dark. So that could be an avenue.
Um, I mean, if they were to add in a cosmic type, that would totally eliminate my argument here, and you just make cosmic. I would just say you make cosmic immune to sound.
Obviously,
like,
yeah.
I'd go that far. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like speaking of immunity, going to what's resisted, like what resists sound type. I thought about making bug immune to sound because bugs are deaf. They can't hear anything. But then I thought about how they can still feel vibrations. They're very sensitive to vibrations.
Oh, really?
They use their antenna kind of feel around and kind of feel vibrations to get around, right? In a way.
Oh, yeah.
And like some like spiders and stuff like have like the hairs on so they can kind of and feel the vibrations through their webs and things like that. So
Okay.
The more I thought about it, the more I was like, I can't make bug immune. I could make them maybe resist sound, and then maybe even just make it neutral. I guess I can kind of bring it up now too, like ice type. Ice type needs a buff. You touched that on your video. Like ice is like one of the worst types in the game, unfortunately, because I love ice type Pokemon.
Yeah.
But damn, is it weak. And I kind of wanted to make ice like strong, like have it be super effective against sound and resist sound because of snow is an insulator, and you touched on that in your video. But at the same time, ice type also represents ice as well as it represents snow, and like ice would obviously shatter with like in the presence of like loud sound. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make it neutral because I can't play both sides here really.
Yeah.
That's why you don't see ice anywhere, because I have ice being hit neutrally. But I definitely would consider maybe making bug hit neutrally as well. But
Yeah. The bug type, that's interesting. Like when you talked about how like most bugs are deaf, but bugs are actually sensitive to sound, like vibrations, because of the spiders and the spider web, and like they have to use their antenna and stuff. I didn't like consider that, but that actually makes a lot of sense. So I'll probably go back and change bug type being immune. Also because there is some species of bug that are able to hear, like crickets can hear and cicadas. So like there is a few bugs that are able to hear, but like the majority can't. But like I guess they are still sensitive to sound. So yeah, that's an interesting point.
yeah, that's why. Yeah, bug's an interesting one for sure. I mean, bug's also bad, so I also kind of wanted to buff it in a way.
Yeah, oh for sure.
Yeah, so we basically covered all of these here, except for grass. I guess I can go into grass. You covered it in your video beautifully, though. I mean, like trees and foliage and stuff, it kind of absorbs and insulates, sound. So obviously, grass will resist sound type. Also, I know in your video you have steel being weak because sound travels through metal well, but steel's my favorite type. I didn't want to nerf it. That's the truth on that. But also, I feel like even though like sound travels well through metal, I feel like it doesn't really affect it. I feel like I don't know.
Oh,
Like, metal
100%.
is kind of like a different material than like water or something like that. I don't know. I feel like it would kind of just maybe it would make the metal vibrate or whatever, but it wouldn't like I don't know if it would really hurt the Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, that was a point that some people brought up, like, just because sound travels faster through denser material doesn't mean that necessarily the material itself is being hurt in any way, which is a good point. Like, yes, sound travels really fast through steel, but like the steel isn't being affected whatsoever, so does it really make sense for it to be weak? That's kind of a point that was brought up in the comments.
These are all my ideas before I watch your stuff.
Yeah.
Everything that I've said, though, I mean, obviously I'm kind of reacting to what you said in your video, but everything on these slides I haven't changed since like last May. So
Well, these are good ideas, like, and we did kind of overlap in a lot of ideas, which is interesting.
yeah, we did. That was a really cool thing about watching your video and kind of getting into, we were kind of in the same headspace on a lot of things, but definitely different in other places too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think type matchups in general for sound is such a, like, everyone has a different idea for how it would go. Like, some people think the same type would be weak or strong. It's just like, some people think ice would be weak because, like, it's got similar properties to glass, and like I said, it would be weak, it would be strong because of like snow. And some people think like rock would be weak, like me, I said rock would be weak because of like, it travels faster through dense material, which rock's denser. But then some people said like, oh, caves, like they're kind of made out of rock, but they kind of amplify sound. I don't know, there's like a lot of different avenues. You can kind of go both ways to a lot of types, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. Like, definitely a lot of the interactions you can go either way with sound. It sounds just interesting and like kind of a strange,
Yeah.
like property, like in life. I think a big part of that's like how like sound is vibration. Essentially, when you kind of boils down to it, that kind of makes things more complicated.
Yeah. Moves I think are pretty easy to add, as there are so many sound-based moves in the game already that could easily just be swapped to a sound typing. Pretty much every sound-based move already in the game, which are majority normal types, can change to sound types. So these would be moves such as Boom Burst, Disarming Voice, Growl, Hyper Voice, Round, Roar, Supersonic, Screech, Relic Song, Perish Song, etc. However, there are a few issues that come up with doing this, and that comments have already pointed out to me before even doing this segment, which are that there are sound-based moves that are types other than normal. Sound moves, if retyped to sound, would lose the signature stab of that Pokemon using that move. Sound-based moves is an intricate subsystem in Pokemon that relates to different abilities and items that cannot be easily changed without being addressed. You know what's kind of interesting though, before I get into these points, this technically isn't the first time a move has changed types in the Pokemon series. The move Bite was actually a normal type move in Red and Blue before Dark was introduced in Gen 2. The comment by Kyle Reinholz pointed that out to me, so thank you for that. I just thought that was interesting. So let's go through some points, and at the end of the section I want to share my own and your sound type move ideas. So starting off with, there are sound based moves other than normal. I feel like there are workarounds for this. For example, there could be sound type moves that are used mostly by those types. So for example, Bug Buzz is a sound type move, but it's used mostly by bug types. And to add on to this, for the it will lose the signature stab of their Pokemon argument, there could still be stab moves. So for example, Disarming Voice, which I believe is Fairy type right now, it could still be changed to sound type, Disarming Voice, but it can still, that potentially could lose Primarina's signature stab, which is, her stab move. But even if you don't change Primarina, which I didn't in the original video, but if you didn't change Primarina, because I do believe that, the Water Fairy typing is a very strong typing, like it's pretty crucial to the Pokemon, which we will go into later, because a lot of people have said that I've changed typings of Pokemon that already have crucial dual types to them. But so you don't have to change the typing of Primarina, but the move can still be sound type and it can still have stab. That's kind of like my solution to that. Or even you could do some kind of like meta system in which the move stays the same type but still does sound based damage, meaning it's not officially a sound type move, but the attack is still sound based. So it might have some properties of the sound typing, like interacting with the ability Soundproof and other moves that affect sound types. So that one I actually don't think is a good idea. It's a bit confusing. So basically it's saying keep the type the same type, so water, but there are sound type moves, but there are also sound based moves. I think that's actually dumb, and I feel like that's confusing, and that just, no, definitely not. But anyway, I think that the ability Soundproof wouldn't make them immune to sound. Like, even though it's already a thing in Pokemon with Levitate being immune to ground type moves, I think it would just reduce the attack power as fair of sound type moves. So Liquid Voice is an ability that turns sound based moves into water type. This one stunned me a little bit. It's an ability that Primarina has, the Primarina line has. And I didn't include this Pokemon as a potential retype in the previous video, mainly just because of the fact that I feel like fairy water typing is quite crucial to the Pokemon, which is a point that was brought up frequently in the comments regarding some Pokemon I chose to retype, which I will cover later. And to go back to the ability Liquid Voice, I think that maybe you could just make it so that the sound type moves she does use with this ability are now super effective against fire type or rock type. So, you know, she would use a sound type move, but it's still super effective against fire. Like that's her ability, Liquid Voice, instead of just making it water type. Or you could technically just make all her sound type moves water type. Sure, I guess. You could just do that. So now let's specifically respond to some comments regarding moves. So like rebuttals people have and like thoughts. And then after that, we'll go into like new sound type move ideas and then your new sound type move ideas. So I'm not going to go through any of these comments in like any particular order. It's literally just if the contents of the comment kind of suit what I'm talking about right now. There's going to be a lot of comments in this video, so I'm sorry if I don't end up getting to your comment, but there's a lot I end up going through, so so stick around because I probably will cover it. Okay, first comment is from Rundoom. While I agree with most of what you said, I have rebuttals of my own. First, some of your examples of Pokemon that should be sound type already have fitting types, such as Bronzong, whose psychic type comes from its magic powers, and Hakamoto, whose sound comes from its war dances. Just to touch on that point, yes, I will talk about that in a second. Second, you said towards the argument that sound is just a normal type, that for now it is. However, one of the 31 sound-based moves, only 18 are normal type. I brought this up for two reasons: to point out the argument makes no sense at all, and because several of these moves probably will never change type, specifically Bug Buzz, Eerie Spell, Grass Whistle, and Metal Sound. So yeah, just to cover this point real quick, I think that yeah, it probably won't change type, but that doesn't mean it's never been done, because as we said earlier, Bite technically was a normal type move before Dark was introduced. So, you know, it's not impossible for a move to change types. Is it likely? No, but does it mean it's impossible? So yeah, just like Bug Buzz would be, so my idea would be like Bug Buzz, sound type move used by Bug type Pokemon, Grass Whistle, sound type move used by Grass Pokemon, Metal Sound type move used by Steel Pokemon. That's kind of like my idea. You know what's funny though? I don't actually think that this is more of an issue. I think that actually changing so many normal types to sound is actually more of an issue than these like Bug Buzz, Grass Whistle, Metal Sound kind of typed moves, because it's like, just change it. Like it's actually not that big of a deal to the actual type. You know, Bug Buzz just changing to a sound type move. It's actually not that big of a deal than actually changing most of the normal type moves to sound type, which I will get into in a second after this. But because, like, spoiler, it's because there's going to be a lot less like powerful normal type moves and like, you know, special attacking normal type moves. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. So just continuing with the comment, third is already brought up, there are already numerous sound-based moves all with the same ability to ignore substitute. It's already a gimmick added onto those moves to make them situationally better with the same theming. So yeah, just like in terms of substitute, that's a tricky one, because like, would you just make sound type moves like able to attack substitute? Kind of makes sense that yes, but if sound type is going to be a much more common thing, you know what, I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, they will still be able to ignore substitute. I don't think that will be too OP. If they added the sound type, they'd have to change several things, that I doubt they will. Not saying they won't, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. I guess just on that point, it is unlikely, I'd say, that they would change anything to the sound-based move system, but I'm kind of trying to argue that, yeah, it's probably a good thing that they do, or that it's not impossible that they do. So to go back and answer the first part, which is that there are Pokemon that already kind of have a fitting type, that wouldn't like make as much sense adding the sound type as the types they already have. In other words, they've already got dual types that are crucial to the Pokemon. So even if they have a sound but theming, you know, adding the sound type actually wouldn't make as much sense as the types they already have. And then he mentioned Bronzong and Hakamoto. And honestly, yes, I agree. There are actually more examples that fit this argument as well, such as like Seismitoad, and the one that was brought up most frequently in the comments is Toxtricity. I admit I did kind of overlook this point for the sake of making the argument, but here's how I would solve this issue. So earlier I mentioned Primarina and how it's a Pokemon that I thought shouldn't be changed to a sound type, despite its clearly sound-based influence, being a siren and an opera singer. And also you guys mentioned how there were retypes that you didn't agree with because it hurts the original Pokemon competitively, or that you think that the dual types were already integral to the Pokemon, so changing it would be changing too much, kind of like changing the brand of the Pokemon, and like how people like the Pokemon. And a solution for this problem was actually pointed out to me by Brady Mestro and Melinda Muller, in which the Pokemon can stay their original types, but gain stab on any sound type moves it learns. So say Toxtricity can still stay Poison Electric, just when it learns sound type moves either through leveling or TMs, it gains stab on those moves, or if not stab, some kind of buff when using those moves. So making sound almost its like third unofficial type, but doesn't affect like type matchups. So in short, there would retype Pokemon that wouldn't get affected by the retype much at all, such as like mostly normal type Pokemon, such as Chatot, Loudred, Meloetta. But if there's any like clearly sound-based influenced Pokemon, such as Primarina, Toxtricity, but already have crucial dual types to them, they just learn a lot of sound type moves, they can learn a lot of sound type TMs, and they gain buffs or stabs on those moves without actually being the sound type. So let's go back into the normal type problem with adding a sound type, which was brought to me by Noodles24601 and probably some other people. I'm sorry if I missed your comment. The main problem I have with the idea of sound type is that the vast majority of normal type special attacking moves use sound or are sound based. So they need to find another way of doing that and add a bunch of new normal moves to replace the old ones. And yes, I agree that a massive issue with, changing a bunch of sound based moves to sound type is that there is a lot of normal type moves like Boom Burst, like Overdrive, what else? Maybe Overdrive isn't one, but like Relic Song, Perish Voice, all those ones are now like taken from the normal type and just given to the sound type. I mean, of course, normal type Pokemon can still learn sound type moves, like there's nothing stopping them from, being able to, if a Pokemon could learn Boom Burst before, yeah, just let them use Boom Burst. Or like, a Zubat wants to learn Supersonic, just because it's sound type and they're not sound type doesn't necessarily mean that they can't learn it. But it still brings up the problem that, yeah, normal type needs moves too. You can't just take everything from normal type. So that would mean that we would have to add like a lot more normal type moves. So yeah, like if sound-based moves were taken from the normal type, what special moves could normal type even have? Right now, some examples of normal type moves that are not sound-based are G-Max Cuddle, Hidden Power, Hyper Beam, Judgment, Max Strike, Tri-Attack, Swift, Weather Ball. So there is examples obviously of special type moves that aren't like sound-based in normal typing, like of course Swift and all that, so they could just add more. I guess that's not really a massive issue, I just thought that it was interesting. So yeah, it would just be a little inconvenient. They would have to add more. And speaking of sound type, the Crimson Alucard Lord Tepes commented that they should add sound and make normal super effective against it so it's not as useless in late game. I wouldn't necessarily think that normal would be super effective against sound for any reason, but it definitely would buff the normal type, which could, use it. So I don't know. A lot of people have said that normal should be weak to sound, but I just think that's kind of overkill. Something really interesting that happened when reading through the comments of this video is that people were kind of split on whether sound type would be a physical type or a special type. Some people would comment, but what physical moves would the type have? And some would comment, but it would only be a physical type. Personally, I would think this sound type would be a special type because you are sending sound waves as kind of like a projectile attack, essentially. Similar to like sending fire and electricity, except it's vibrations. However, I do get where you guys are coming from with the thinking that it should be physical. Sierra Nicolas says, the sound as a special type thing for Eevee kind of throws me off because I definitely view sound as a physical thing. I can't really imagine it as a special type because sound is so physical, like vibrations, sound waves, sonic boom, etc. And Tung Lam, who said, I think sound should be a physical type. In real world, sound can break rock and metal. Human can also break glass by sound. It's just like an invisible punch. And Chairman of Russia who said, I don't think sound would fall under the special category. Sound is as natural as a rock or a fist. So since there was kind of a split of people who thought that, who thought that sound type should be a special type or a physical type, I decided to run a poll to actually get a sense of what opinion was in the majority. And it seems like the majority does seem to think that sound type would be a special type. Danny Bright said, seems like a special type, but then again, physical and special types before Gen 4 were defined a bit arbitrarily, like Ghost being physical. Warner City, honestly it's a little hard to say for sure. My first thought is special, seems like a no-brainer, but sound being variations of vibrations are a physical thing that can affect things in a physical space. But now that I typed that out, I realized that that's exactly how fire type and other special types work. Fire burns, but not by this Pokemon making physical contact, at least not typically. Emily Creamer says, if you think about it, anything elemental would be physical. Only things like Dark, Special, and Ghost would be truly non-physical. But we don't see fire being physical, lol, so sound seems more along the lines of special. Claustrophobic Teletubby says, special, you don't get physical touch since sound is vibrations. Bizney TM says, I'd say physical. If flying is physical, so is sound. It makes sense. Just a person with the name Kevin says, special for sure. So yeah, I think probably special would be the way to go. Also the fact that the sound-based moves already in the game are mostly special. Javi commented, aren't most if not all sound type moves special? What do you think are some good ideas for physical sound moves? Well, let's discuss some of mine and your new sound type move ideas, including some physical moves. Echoed Terrain. The user creates barriers that amplify the power of sound type moves for a number of turns. Sonic Punch / Sonic Kick. A physical sound type move that breaks the sound barrier as the user punches or kicks, therefore creating sound type damage. Frequency Tune. A status move that increases the accuracy of the user. Auto Tune. A status move that increases the attack and special attack of the user. Static Noise. Deals special sound type damage and decreases the accuracy of the opponent. Sound Bath restores health of the user, but has a risk of putting the user to sleep. So it's kind of like the move Present that Delibird has. It's like it has a potential to either put the user to sleep or restore the health of the user. So it's kind of like a higher risk move. Echoed Song, stronger form of echoed voice. Record Smash, another physical attacking sound type move in which a record is smashed onto the opponent, type damage. Lo-Fi Beat restores health gradually over time like Leech Seed, but without taking the opponent's health. Sonar Strike, a 2-turn move like Solar Beam that sends out Sonar one turn and then strikes the opponent with a large sound explosion the next turn, would be strongest or one of the strongest sound type moves. And now for some of your sound type move suggestions. Honestly, I don't know how to say this name. XX Music Note Baba Music Note XX comments. My ideas for sound type moves. So they got Sing, Metal Sound, Screech, and Uproar, which are already in the game. Screen Shake, an estrodose vibration that shakes the whole globe of the earth, reducing a random stat of every type except for Bug and Ice. Also flinches the foe if move goes first. War Cry, a loud scream that deals damage matching the foe's special attack and also sharply raises the user's and allies' speed. Whatever, Oliver comments some sound type move ideas. Echo Crash, sound type Brave Bird. Dooming Decibels, sound type Self-Destruct. I actually really like that. Ear Splinter, sound type Psyshock. Yeah, those are good, I like those. Golden Goon comments, I would love to see a move called Sonic Pulse to go with Cloris's ability Mega Launcher. Jose A. Ruiz Juanes, I might have pronounced that wrong. Sound move ideas. Myriad Melodies. Base 30 multi-hit 2 to 5 sound move with a small chance of inflicting confusion. Wow. I like that. At 5% it would be around 23% with 5 hits. At 10% it's approximately 41% with all 5 hits. Could be learned by most Meliodas Pokemon, but primarily for the Toucannon line to make use of their skill link ability. That's interesting. Raucous Shattering. Raucous. I've never heard of that word. Raucous. Making or constituting a disturbingly harsh and loud noise. I learned a new word. Raucous. A base 60 move which deals double damage if the opponent's def is buffed. Defense, I'm guessing. Also removes any defense buffs on the target. Nice. Dissonant Whispers. These are good names. Base 50 damage with 30% chance to flinch. Rowdy Fanfare. Starts a fanfare that lasts 4 turns. During the fanfare, Pokemon deal the additional 20% damage and take an additional 20% damage. Pokemon immune to sound moves are unaffected by the effect, which effectively halves the effect of this move for them specifically. Bizarre Harmony. Base 20 moves used for the next 3 turns will have 100% accuracy, removes fanfare. Offbeat Pitch. Base 50, 2-hit move. A lot of like multi-turn moves ideas here, which I like. Base 50, 20-hit move. 2-hit. Base 50, 2-hit move, which hits once with priority and once at the end of the turn. White Noise. No damage, clears any effects applied to the field. Wow, I really like that idea. That's a good idea. White Noise.
We jump into my moves. My move type changes.
Cool.
So I'm not gonna really explain everything. You can kind of ask me what you think,
Okay.
or what you want me to kind of talk about or explain. Because I feel like most of these make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think most of these are pretty much a given. Swords Dance that one's interesting. Oh, because of the dancing, of course.
Yeah, anything with dance in the name, I basically made. If it was normal, I made it into a sound type move.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's why your dance is there as well, Swords Dance.
So
Honestly, I'm not gonna change Rain Dance or some of those other moves that
true.
have with type them already. But
so do you think that moves that kind of like Bug Buzz and Metal Sound, do you think that those which have a type other than normal should be changed to sound type as well?
yeah, so I think I talk about like at the end of this like PowerPoint. I think I talk about maybe like giving some moves like a dual typing, kind of like Flying Press or like Freeze Dry.
Okay.
So maybe you make Bug Buzz like bug type, but also make it have sound type too, and just to kind of help make it a little stronger. Metal Sound, I mean, it does have sound in the name, but I'm fine keeping that a steel type move. I don't think it really affects too much if you were to make it sound versus steel. So
Yeah, for sure. I think in the follow-up I said that they should just change them, but have them be moves that specific type learns. Like, so Bug Buzz would be a sound type move that bug type Pokemon learn. What else? Like, yeah. Oh, the dual.
I guess that could also kind of buff some Pokemon, like, but there's like not very many like really strong like special bug moves, right? Other than like Bug Buzz, like Bug Buzz is like the like strong special bug move, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that people use it because it bypasses substitute. Like that's also a reason why people like Bug Buzz. Well, all sound-based moves do that, but yeah.
Yes, that was kind of something I wrestled with. I don't really have a great answer on that, but that was also something I kind of mentioned later on. Is like maybe some like sound type moves will have a secondary effect that has it bypass substitute, and I think it like bypasses like disguise and stuff too.
Yeah.
I think that's something I wasn't sure about because I feel like that'd be like almost too strong. That if like every single move that was sound type had a secondary like effect of like bypassing that. That's like the only like real reason I could see like why people like that's the biggest counter argument I feel like to like adding sound type.
Personally, I don't think it would be too OP. If maybe, I don't know, maybe you can bypass it, but with like a reduced attack power or something like that. But I don't know. I think there's ways around it.
Yeah, I mean, you could also maybe do it so like only like special sound type moves
right.
can do that. Maybe like the physical ones can't.
Also, do you think that? I think that one of the problems that I didn't see too many people bring up, but I kind of noticed that I don't think that changing the typed moves that aren't normal to sound is really that much of a problem, like Bug Buzz and Metal Sound and all that. But I think that changing so much normal will leave kind of normal type barren and not like a lot of special moves and not a lot of variety, do you think that would be an issue?
I mean, I think normal has like the most like moves in the entire game, like currently. I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
Um, so while it would lose like a pretty sizable chunk here, obviously not all of these moves are normal type. Granted, a lot are,
Hmm.
but it's still back to the fact that like normal is not really a very good typing. Like offensively,
Yeah.
is better like defensively. Just like for the ghost immunity. But I feel like normal is just kind of a weak typing, and this would kind of just help it make some mons stronger, make these moves stronger. So I don't have a huge problem making normal maybe a little bit worse. So
And they could
I guess I get
also
where people come from though.
just add more normal type moves.
Oh, for sure. They could definitely add some new stuff or like make some sort of like a similar kind of move, but like
Yeah.
you know change it here or there to kind of make it more akin to just a normal type.
Do you think that there'll be a lack of sound physical moves?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, looking at this list and like how many physical moves are there? There's drum beating. There's explosion and self-destruct. But like, I think other than those, I don't think there are anymore.
Nah, it's quite a difficult thing to think of, like what physical moves would they add for a sound type.
Yeah, it's kind of like like rock type is like almost all physical, or how like you know, like fairy or like psychic is like almost all special moves. So that was definitely something I had to think about, which actually is a perfect segue into my next slide here. I think you might have gotten a little sneak peek of that when I kind of scrolled my wheel too far, but here are like 4 pretty strong, because I mean, I wanted to make them stronger just because there's not very many of them. Physical moves. Um, Skyquake. This is a phenomenon that I've read about. Doesn't really have a logical explanation currently, like, or a scientific explanation. It's like a super loud, like rumbling noise that's kind of heard in the sky, and it's just really loud. And there's like usually like no evidence of a cause of it. You can like look this up on Google. It's really interesting. It's really fascinating. Um, I thought that'd be a good one to add as a physical move. A nice strong one.
I like that.
Bass drop is like a not as strong of a move. It's like smackdown. Like the move progression would read something like the Pokemon like grabs a Pokemon, like blasts him with a loud noise, and like, or like jumps in the air and like blasts him into the ground with a loud noise, something like that. That would cause it to smackdown, or like the gravity effect. So you could hit grounded Pokemon with like super effective moves, like hit a fly type with a ground type move now.
Yeah,
So I'd be like a base 60 move or whatever, like Smackdown is.
I like that.
Thunderclap's kind of like your kind of standard, like maybe 70 base power, I think, at least up till maybe like 90, 95, like a Thunderbolt or whatever. Those, or like flamethrowers, those moves that like have a secondary effect, and also are pretty strong. I feel like like with Thunderclaps, it's a really loud sound with this produced by your hands, the Pokemon's hands or whatever. And so I think the intensity of the move could make the target flinch, or maybe even paralyze them, as you see. Low chance, but like 10%, because it can do either one. So I didn't want to make it so it happened too often.
Oh yeah.
And then last one is Record Scratch. This is just to kind of give a like early on physical move, kind of like O-wing attack, or like a like Ember, but a physical version.
Yeah.
Since like Echoed Voice is like, I think it's like 40 base power and Fairy type right now, but I just make it sound instead, because there's a lot of Fairy type moves that are kind of lower power anyways, and I think it would benefit to have like a lower base power sound type move that Pokemon can kind of learn on their way to becoming stronger. And like that's what Record Scratch is. It's a similar thing where it'd be like a 40 base power move or something, like physical move, just for like those Pokemon that are physical attackers that are sound type.
I could see that. I'm kind of curious though how like just the concept of record scratch, why that would be physical.
Um, so like, there's not really a Pokemon that exists like this, but I literally thought of like instead of like my idea was basically like the Pokemon would like throw a record at the opponent or something, and that's why it'd be physical.
Oh yeah.
Granted, there's like not a Pokemon that like produces records or anything. I guess you could also
It could just be like
the
it could just be like the energy of a record or something. Like there's a lot of like what's the word? Oh, what's the word? Like
hand waving.
Kind of like I don't know. You know how like some moves, it's just like okay, that there's no way that Pokemon could actually do that, but it's just kind of like
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like how like Gassy can learn like Ice Punch or something like that, but it has like it has no hands.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another idea could be like record scratches, like the Pokemon uses its like voice to like shape its claws or something and sharpen them so it can then attack or like and scratch the opponent more effectively. Some weird Pokemon nonsense like that. Also, something I just kind of thought of is I was kind of lacking in the idea of thinking about like status moves. You could definitely have like some sort of like battle cry or like some other like a bard in like D&D or whatever, like where they buff, you can buff an opponent or buff yourself.
That's a good one.
With like
I like that
music or shouting or something like that. That could be used in like double battles where like you like use like battle cry or something, and like you and your opponent like have their, or not you and your opponent, you and your teammate, I mean, like have a boost in your attack or your special attack or something like that.
Yeah. I had a few status sound type move ideas as well, like auto tune and sound bath, which is like, it's a real thing where people like meditate in kind of like a bath and they have speakers around them, and so that could be like a kind of health boosting move, status move. And then like frequency tune could be like a special attacking one, something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of like music therapy, which is basically like the equivalent to like what you're describing with the sound bath. Like I could definitely see that being like a good way to like have some sort of move that would restore health or like maybe status or something like a status, something like that. Like if the Pokemon's poisoned or something, you can use sound bath and like it gets healed or something. That'd be cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have given a little more thought, I guess, to status moves, like new status moves. I didn't really come up with too many new moves just because I feel like
there's so
you can
many.
really convert almost everything you need with like normal moves. I mean, moves like, like Growl and Heal Bell and stuff, those are status moves, but they're not new ones, and I didn't really think of that, so I think those are definitely some cool ideas.
So I'm sure you've all seen the reveal of Gen 9, which is going to be centered around Spain, and I was honestly really stupid for putting a rumor in a video where the Gen 9 reveal was literally the next day. Like, I didn't plan that, obviously, but putting rumors in a video where the Gen 9 reveal's gonna be around the corner, it was just setting it up to the video to age like milk. So yes, I know it's not gonna be set in Australia. It's gonna be set in Spain, which I'm excited for. I'm actually excited for a Spain region. I think it looks really cool, but the reason I said Australia, by the way, is just so I could link into the like region, sound, type, influence kind of argument, because of stuff like the Lyrebird, the Didgeridoo, like all that stuff. So what does this reveal of Gen 9 mean for sound type? It means that it is deconfirmed. As cool as a sound type inspired Spain Pokemon would be, and how much stuff they can draw inspiration from, sadly in a section of the trailer it shows a circle with all the types and sound type is not among them, or any new type. You could go like conspiracy theorist and be like, oh well, maybe they purposely edited it out so that people wouldn't expect the reveal later on, but like, we're just getting desperate at that point. So no new types will be added in Gen 9. Perhaps Gen 10, but it doesn't really matter. Like, sound type has always been unlikely, it's just the fun of speculating the type that like really draws me to this topic. So in this section we're going to be going through Pokemon that could be retyped to sound type, that I didn't cover, or yeah, that I didn't cover. Or your opinions on ones that I did cover, I guess. So let's go through those comments. Lynx Ace commented 4 more sound type candidates. Ulterior performs humming songs said to enrapture any audience. Oh, by the way, if you start to think before I get into these comments, I think that one thing that needs to be addressed is that there is so much more influence in sound Pokemon than I originally thought. That is kind of a problem. Like, there would be too many sound type Pokemon. Obviously, you can kind of like limit it to the ones that are actually like core, like proper, I don't know how you say, like extreme influence, kind of like Chatot, Meloetta, stuff like that. But there is definitely some good stuff here. Like for the first one, Lynx Ace talks about Ulterior performs humming songs. Its Pokédex entry mentions beautiful singing capacity. So honestly, stuff like this is a really good argument against sound type, because it's like there's such a not oversaturation, I guess that's kind of the word, but there is a big amount of sound type influence covering outside of just sound based, you know. So I think that the solution obviously is just like make the main one sound type, make the non-main ones a pseudo third type kind of buff thing, or just learn sound type moves kind of thing. There's plenty of Pokemon that know moves outside of their type, but let's go through these potential options. Anyway, Ulterior performs humming songs said to enrapture any audience. Its Pokédex entry mentions beautiful singing capacities. It learns the move Sing at level 28. So Ulterior, my personal opinion, if it's the oversaturation argument, then I would say no. But I actually think like the sound-based influence is clearly there, so I will say yes. Binary and extremely sensitive to sound and attentive to their hearing. They do have kind of big ears for that. Even after evolution, this Pokemon remains very aware of sounds from its environment. That's a good candidate. Personally, I don't think it would be sound type, but it is a good candidate. It's only normal type, so it doesn't hurt anyway. Primarina, of course, we've covered Primarina before. Gossifleur is an interesting one. Sings joylessly in the sunlight. Interesting. Gossifleur. I believe it's just grass type, if I'm not mistaken, so that would be an interesting one. Surprisingly, we have more grass sound types than I would have originally thought, like Maractus, Rillaboom, and Blossom. So grass sound is like interesting that grass doesn't really make noise, but there's a lot of grass sound types. Sound type evolution name. Oh, this is from Spencer McDougall. Sound type evolution name Vibration, like vibration and vibrate eon. Yeah, I think there was a lot of cool sound type EV names ideas given in the comments, so this is a really cool one. Vibration. I think it does allude to vibrator, so I don't think they would actually use this one, but obviously it makes complete sense. Hydro Turtle says, personally I would make a Ludicolo line since it dances literally in its idle animation, and its Dex entry talks about Ludicolo loving music produced by travelers and people. So I don't know if I talked about it here or where I talked about it, but it's probably going to come later. Spoilers for later in the video, but I was going to talk about how dancing I think should be included in the sound type as well, as just like not just literally sound, dance and kind of like that influence should be included in the sound type as well. So I think that Ludicolo for sure would be a sound type. But the reason I didn't include him obviously is because water grass is so crucial to its type. But yeah, that could definitely be a good contender for a pseudo third sound type move type thing. Side of sound. Ludicolo could also be one.
Yeah, I do think he could be. I'm not sure if I'd get rid of water or grass on him. I think either one would be kind of, you could probably justify either one being gotten rid of.
Yeah, I think it definitely wouldn't get rid of the water grass, just because like it's so crucial and it's past like pre-evolutions as well. It would feel weird to just like take like away the water or the grass aspect of it.
I mean, so I try not to touch any Pokemon that had already had two typings, so. But I can understand why you'd have Ludicolo as like a potential.
Yeah.
sound type.
Some other potential. So Noah Norgler says some other potential Pokemon to gain the sound type retyping: Zubat, Golbat, Volbeat, Ninjask. So Zubat and Golbat I get. Obviously the same reason I said Woobat and Subat, which is the echolocation property. I would say if they were going to add it, I wouldn't add Zubat and Golbat. And personally, I wouldn't add Subat and Woobat. I don't know why I chose them in the original video. That kind of baffled me after, like, literally I was baffled by my own choice afterwards when I was kind of reading the comments and then someone was like, why did you include Woobat and Subat? And then I looked at my list and I was like, why did I include Woobat and Subat? That was such an odd choice, but like I did say echolocation, but obviously then Zubat and Golbat would be a contender. Personally, I wouldn't include either of them, even though, yeah, there is that influence. Of course. So Volbeat, Ninjask, I think it's because they're based on cicadas. I think just because they're based on cicadas doesn't necessarily mean that they should be sound type. There's not a lot of sound influence in the actual Pokemon design, besides the fact that they're cicadas, so... But I do see the connection, obviously, but I personally, I wouldn't think that they would be changed, but you know, I see the connection, obviously. Someone else says, what about Volbeat and Ninjask because they're based on cicadas?
Volbeat's a ladybug, isn't it?
Oh, that's true. I'm thinking of
You mean like Nincada?
Yeah, Nincada.
Or
And Ninjask.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that makes sense, like, because they're cicadas, but at the same time, like, I mean, ground bug makes sense for like Nincada, and then
the ghost.
bug fly makes sense. It would be cool though. I think it's just like the process of like a cicada being stuck to the ground when they're first like a larva or whatever, or like a young cicada, and then they kind of they come out of the ground and they can fly.
Yeah.
So I think bug flying makes sense, and obviously Shedinja, you can't change that. That's such a brilliantly designed Pokemon.
Yeah. And even though it's based on a cicada, I think like it doesn't really have much sound influence in its design. Like this, even though like there's no sound influence really there. It's just that they are a bug. They are based on a cicada. So I definitely wouldn't think that they would be sound type.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it'd be cool, honestly, give like Nincada a third evolution. Like keep it like on the ground.
Oh, maybe.
And like make it like some sort of a sound-based evolution to Nincada. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, Ninjask makes sense. It's a ninja cicada, right? So like I think it needs to be really fast. That's kind of its whole thing, and fly types tend to be very fast, so.
Tom is short. Thomas Short says, should have used Combi as a new typing for Pokemon. Bees make sound and suck pollen by making a high-pitched sound as it untraps the pollen. This would be a cool kind of like sound move idea. That's another thing, like, at making a sound, making sound-based turn to sound type does kind of get rid of that. Someone said earlier that it becomes a little less cool, but to be fair, I think the sound typing itself has a lot of really cool potential to be a type, but have a lot of like really specific moves. Like, for example, metal sound, bug, buzz, like all these are very specific moves. There could 100% be super specific moves for like just Pokemon. Like someone mentioned Clauncher, like a Clauncher could have its own sound type move, and like here Combi could have their own sound type move. Like that would be a really cool kind of spin where it's like there's so many sound type moves that aren't necessarily like for just the generic sound type. It's for like one specific Pokemon. It doesn't even have to be sound type. But yeah, that would be super cool. Personally, I wouldn't make Combi sound type. There's not a lot of influence in the actual design, like I said earlier, but yeah, that's a very cool connection there. And someone else said Combi because bees make sound and suck pollen by making high-pitched sounds, which untrap the pollen, which I didn't know about, but apparently that's true.
I didn't know that either, but yeah, I mean that could maybe be good. I think it would kind of help buff Combi and Vespiquen. Like,
yeah,
bug flying is 4 times weak to rock, and if you give it sound, it would wouldn't have that 4 times weakness anymore. I think you could easily justify it because like also, like stealth rock's a big problem for him. You can easily justify it because like bees buzz and you know where they're around because they're buzzing. So like, I think that makes sense. You could definitely make Vespiquen sound type. If a Pokemon's like loud and noisy though, or like an animal that a Pokemon's based on is loud and noisy, I didn't really consider that. I based it mostly on like if it was integrated and actually like thought about it integrated into the design, like Fricatoon, like Chatot, like Rakdos, those are all like music and instruments and everything is like integrally like built into like how that Pokemon is designed, and like Vespiquen's just like literally a queen bee.
Exactly.
And that doesn't really mean much, but like it'd be a good way to buff it. I think that would probably help it in that respect.
Yeah, I kind of went with that approach as well with my video, because I was like, sound is such an ambiguous thing. You kind of have to have it like very obvious in its design. Like a lot of fire types, they literally just have fire on them, or like electric types, they're yellow, whereas sound type it's a little bit more ambiguous. So I think if it's like, I kind of tried to limit it to just very obviously influenced sound Pokemon. So I think Pokemon like Combi and stuff, it makes sense in concept, but like you kind of have to know stuff about it, so it's a little confusing why it would be so. And plus there's already so many sound type Pokemon anyway. Chris around says, what about Delcatty? I see the connection. I'm saying that a lot, but I do see it with the cattail kind of thing. Cattail is what? It's a toy, I'm guessing. If I remember, it's like a toy that cats use, and it's got like a little ring, like a bell. So yeah, I see that. That's a cool. Yeah, definitely. Honestly, yeah, that would be an easy change because it's just like normal type. So yeah, for sure. So Cavendere, I'm gonna say that's probably pronounced wrong. Definitely need Nincada Ninjas to be sound type. No way Pokemon not based on a cicada to knock in that type of lol. So yeah, I said that earlier. That's definitely would be a contender for sure. But I think the Ghost Bug works for them. And one of them's fighting, right? Ninjask, I think, is fighting. Margie Ireland. Really interesting argument. You got me just about convinced. The only hang up is how receptive people will be to a new type right now. I'll touch on that later. I'll touch on that like later in the video when we're talking about like the generic, like the general gist of sound type. We're going to be going through a lot of like rebuttals and problems with it. So I'll just ignore that for now. Touch on that later, I guess. I'll just talk about it now. Yeah, for sure. That's one of the biggest problems is like not many people really care about the sound type itself, like the concept of it. Not a lot of people want a new type in general. Like no matter how cool it is, in my opinion, we're talking about the majority here. The majority of people think sound type is lame just in the name itself. I think cosmic type would be much better received. What else would be better received? Even tech type might even be like better received. Sound type, as cool as I think it is I think a lot of people would definitely think it's more of a lamer choice of a new type. One thing with the Pokemon that could be changed to sound type, did you consider the Oricorios? Obviously be a hard workaround considering each one is a different type. Yes, I kind of considered it for a second, but it makes complete sense. Yes, the Oricorios would be for sure really good ones to add. Considering they don't even really fly, I don't understand why they're flying type. They don't really fly, but yeah, the dancing influence for sure. Like I would say that they would actually get changed to sound type, not even the pseudo thing. That'd be really cool. Maya Vales comments, I would argue for Jinx being sound type since it speaks in a human-like voice and can learn sing and parasong. But my question is, what criteria is there for a Pokemon to be sound type and not just a Pokemon that knows sound moves? Does it have to be made of sound in some way? How would that be possible? Sound is just vibrations picked up by our eardrums. So to touch on the first point, yeah, I think Jinx could be a cool one. I believe it's only... Bro, I just remembered. Galarian Jinx is like a tap dancer. Wait, is that Galarian Jinx? No, that's Mr. Mime. Oh, whoops. Anyway, Mr. Mime, that's a good one. Galarian Mr. Mime, because it's like a tap dancer. But anyway, personally, I wouldn't change it, but I can see the connection, obviously. So then you ask, what is the criteria for a Pokemon being sound type, and not just a Pokemon that knows sound moves? Does it have to be made of sound? I don't think it has to be made of sound. I just think it has to have a very good manipulation of sound, or has like a very clear, obvious influence of sound to its design. Like you look at it and go, that would be a sound type. You know what I mean? Like you look at Rillaboom, it has drums. You're like, okay, that's sound type. But if you look at Delcatty, it's more like ambiguous. You look at Meloetta, it's literally got like music sheet in its hair. So you're like, oh, okay, that's sound type. So that was kind of like my definition of it. Obviously, there's niche ones I chose, like Mischievous was like, it's more subtle in its influence of it. It's more subtle in its influence of sound in its design. But my criteria is no, it doesn't really have to be made of sound in any way. I guess kind of similar to how Pokemon isn't made of psychic, it's just got psychic abilities. A Pokemon doesn't have to be made of sound. It's just a good manipulator of sound. And yeah, sound is just vibrations. But it's also very versatile. Like, you break it down, it is just vibrations, but it is quite versatile. Like, you know, there's big blasts of sound. There's obviously music, which is a much like softer form of sound, I guess. You know, there's tons of different. I mean, music and sound is such a vast thing. Like, all animals use it. It's been passed down through cultures, through music and stuff like that. So, I guess that's how I would describe the sound type and why it should be, like, just in a very general sense. That's kind of how I would describe it, if that makes sense. So, Shaylick. So Shaylick also comments on Oricorio, so that for sure would be one. And they also said Primarina, which says Liquid Voice, which I talked about earlier, so both really good picks. Mediocre Boy says the Litleo line, and maybe even Whaler. Also, I love different forms of toxicity, having different types. One of the first people have said that, because a lot of people said that they didn't like that, so mad respect for actually liking that change, but and then the QJAD135 says, yes, Litleo makes sense. Yeah, for sure, Litleo Pyroar definitely makes sense. They're only normal fire now, so yeah, that would be a very easy change. But I think someone mentioned earlier about fire sound would be a really OP type combo, so that might mess up stuff. But yeah, for sure, they have Roar in the name. I think the only reason I didn't include them because I wanted to include a lot of Pokemon that were like clearly sound-based influence just from its upfront design, despite like a couple outliers like Clauncher and Mischievous. But yeah, those are definitely contenders for sure. Obama-chan says, you're forgetting two important Pokemon. Milotic, which is the rhythm Pokemon. I wasn't aware of that. And Primarina. So obviously Primarina. I don't know about Milotic. I may have to look that up, but if it is the rhythm Pokemon for sure. What type is Milotic? Pretty sure it's a water type, right? So yeah, that would be definitely a cool addition. Jojo no Kimio na Boken says, I've thought about this for a long time and I agree that sound should be introduced as a new type, more than any other possible new type. I agree that it should be effective against steel and water, as sound travels fast through them, and maybe fighting or flying. Oh gosh. We already have so many that's super effective against. Anyway, besides it should be resisted by bug, grass and ice, I agree, and maybe also electric. Electricity is faster than sound. Oh yeah, true. The reason I chose electricity to be resistant is because like electricity is often like symbiotic with sound. Like electricity is used to power the speaker. Like it's literally used. Electrical impulses is used to get the speaker. What is it called? What is it called? The disc to move? Is it? Yeah. Well, electrical impulses cause the disc to move, which actually creates the sound. So it's very symbiotic is what I was kind of getting at. But yeah, electric being faster than sound definitely contributes to that, even though I don't think it should be in hindsight. But anyway, anyhow, it'd be a rather special type, so more physical sounds would be needed for sure. Yeah, we definitely need more. I only came up with a few physical sound type moves. Also, Yanma and Yanmega should be reframed as bug sound type. Yeah, for sure. And Vibrava, I think, because Vibrava has the word vibration in its name, so that would definitely be a sound type. Yanma and Yanmega. Wait, is Yanma and Yanmega a evolved form of Vibrava? Or am I tripping? I don't know about that, but yeah, for sure. An evolution would be much needed to make the new type popular, and some pure sound types. Yes! Oh my gosh, I was thinking about that. Like, what would be some pure sound types that would add? It's kind of hard because it does kind of have to have some kind of animal influence to it. Like, you're not gonna just make a ton of musical instrument Pokemon. But anyway, I've always fantasized about one of the elongated dogs whose body is in fact an accordion. That's funny. Like an accordion sausage dog or something. That's a good... I like that idea. Decaying Fairy says, kind of surprised I didn't see sound type extended out to dancing Pokemon. Oh yeah, so we can talk about that here. For sure, I think dance should 100% be included in the sound type. So Oricorio, considering dances are almost accompanied by songs, especially in battle animation. But this video is sick nonetheless, I appreciate that. I think dance is used kind of like a fighting move with, what's his name? Kaamaru. That's kind of like what they were going for, like dancers fighting. But yeah, I think dance should be included in sound type. Oricorio Ren_11 says Oricorio. Heebie-jeebies Gaming says we need a new type for the Porygon line. Yeah, I agree. No one else really agreed that Porygon should be changed to the sound type. I think personally it fits. You know, digital sounds are pretty common these days, and you know, the whole static noise type thing. I think it makes sense, but a lot of people didn't agree. That's fair. So, I said in my original video Porygon. Do you think Porygon would be one?
A sound type?
Yeah.
No, not really.
That's fair. Using Fire says Pyroar, for sure. Lovey D says, I think Lapras should not be a sound type, it should stay ice. I love your ideas, may YouTube algorithm bless you, thank you. It's cool to have a new evolution, maybe a new Rotom form too, a speaker or radio. Lapras should not be a sound type. Yeah, I can see a lot of people didn't like that I chose Lapras as a sound type, but for sure. And I think a new Rotom form would 100% be added. Like, it's almost a given at this point. Like, if they were going to add a sound type, 100% they would add a Rotom form for a speaker or radio, or someone else said an alarm. Oh, literally the next comment. It's your boy Cryptic says, make a good Pokemon design. A sound type Pokemon could be an alarm Pokemon. This might be a bit too stingy, but one of my most important criteria is not just having lots of well-justified type effectiveness, but also having an existing Pokemon that can fit in while having absolutely zero Pokemon. That would be weird without it yet. That would be weird without it, yet can't be given it because of lore or simply being unique. First of all, Swoobat for using echolocation, but as other commenters pointed out, the Zubat line also uses echolocation, even more so, and is the only poison flying line in the game. However, Zubat and Woobat could both just be excluded from sound. That's my, yeah, that's my bad. I'll just both exclude them. The deal breaker for me is Toxel and Toxtricity. Ah, yes. I guarantee you that the way these Pokemon were made was by picking an interesting unused type combination, electric and poison, and trying to come up with a way that a Pokemon that could be reasonably be both of them. Toxtricity doesn't really have much basis otherwise. Salamanders and guitars with an uninspired name that's literally just the portmanteau of toxic and electricity. And Toxtricity feels like it's just being known for being the electric poison Pokemon. However, there is also absolutely no way that if a sound type was introduced, Toxtricity would not be sound. See, that was my problem. Yeah. See, this guy gets it. It's so well. I guess that's why I kind of made the pseudo third type sound type argument earlier. But yeah, that was the conundrum, wasn't it? It's part of it's part of the Gallup band with Rillibrim and Obstagoon. It strums its chest flap things. It has a sound ability and loads of sound moves, one of which is Overdrive, which is only learned by Toxtricity, and was also probably created just to be the electric sound move that Toxtricity could use. That aside, it seems odd to me that Vibrava, Vibrava, to make prey faint, Vibrava generates ultrasonic waves by vigorously making making its two wings vibrate. This Pokemon's ultrasonic waves are so powerful that it could be so powerful they can bring headaches in people. And Flygon. But yeah, I think the reason I didn't choose Vibrava was just because of Flygon. Like, I do agree Vibrava 100% should be ground sound. I think ground sound, that rhymes. But yeah, I think the dragon ground works really well for Flygon. But yeah, could learn some sound type moves though. I kind of considered Vibrava because it has vibration in its name, but then again it like evolves and it wouldn't really make sense that Flygon would be, you know, ground dragon works very well for it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Trapinch doesn't have anything to do with sound at all.
Yeah.
It's just really Vibrava that has to do with sound. Like, it's the middle evolution because it has like the little, like, you know, bug wings. What is Vibrava? What is its typing? Is it ground dragon or is it something else? Is it?
I think it's just ground. Is it?
I was getting confused by the Trapinch line because I think it should be bug type. I don't think it's ever bug type, is it?
I don't think so. I'll look it up. Vibrava is a ground dragon, actually.
Even Vibrava's ground dragon. Okay.
And Trapinch is just ground. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like, why is Trapinch not ground bug?
It's a little odd, especially since it's based on a dragonfly, but I guess they just didn't want to add it and then get rid of it.
Yeah, but like, here's my thing about like that line is like, you should have made a ground bug, then make it like, then you can make it like I don't know. I just think Flygon should have been a bug dragon. I mean,
yeah.
Look at it.
Exactly. It's based on a dragonfly. It should be bug dragon.
For sure.
I think I think they just made it ground type just because of the whole like sand kind of thing. Like ground basically includes sand, so that's probably why they made it ground type. Because it's not even on the ground, first of all. Vibrava and Flygon, they're in the air.
Yeah, it's called Flygon too. It's in the name.
Yeah. Arietta says maybe a Rotom possessing a boombox would be cool. Absolutely. Fibsor says would Yama be sound? Thunder Smash Fury says Pyro. What Taffy says Skitty and Delcatty sound normal. And I think that's it for sound retypes. Just want to go back to the Porygon. I still believe in Porygon.
So I figured I kind of wanted to try to buff Voltorb Electrode. That's kind of my big part of me making this whole PowerPoint was to show what Pokemon might need buffed, what moves might need to be buffed, like what moves need, like what typings need to be nerfed.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of get into that later on.
That's a pretty good perspective of like what moves actually need to be buffed as well, because I mostly just focused on what types need to be buffed.
Part of this is just making a lot more normal type moves hit more types, since normal has no super effectiveness, it can't hit ghosts, so Voltorb Electrode, there's some of the like signature moves you can even say are like explosion and self-destruct, so I figured this would be a good way to kind of buff them, and like I thought sound electric would be kind of a cool typing as well.
It is pretty cool.
And for me, it wasn't just like sound, but like I also kind of wanted to incorporate like dancing. Like, there's so many dance moves in the game, so a lot of Pokemon who like are considered dancers, I've also made sound type, which brings me to Blossom as a grass sound type, since she's like a hula dancer. So I thought that was a given. like the Whalmer line makes a lot of sense. Whales like really loud noises, and then Chimecho obviously like um, it's it's a bell.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's sound type.
Yeah. Yeah, Spinder's interesting. Like, I wouldn't have thought of Spinder, but it does kind of make sense with its kind of like dancey movements.
Definitely, like I said, I think one of my more reachy ones, but I think you can make it work.
Yeah.
All right, so moving forward, down the line here, Cricketoon, other, givens, Chatot's an easy one, Audino, and then Palpitoad, Sizer I skipped Timpole because, I don't know, it just seems more like just a plain water, and then it gets a sound type when it evolves.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
Yeah, I'm curious by
Lilligant and Maractus.
Lilligant. Why you chose the Lilligant?
Yeah, so like Lilligant and Maractus, both, I mean, Maractus is given it the Maraca cactus Pokemon. Lilligant, I think like knows a lot of dancing moves as well. And I thought it'd be cool to like, have like Petalil evolve into Lilligant and gain a sound typing because, I made this way before Hisuian forms existed, but it's kind of a cool foil now to like Hisuian Lilligant, which is like grass fighting. But this, this regular form of Lilligant, it has a lot of, I think it has like I don't know a lot about the lore for Lilligant actually. I just remember it can learn like a number of dance moves, so I figured I would make Lilligant sound type as well. But there's kind of like a lot of grass sound types.
I was thinking that
already.
I was thinking why
it's like a pretty easy.
Yeah, it's curious how there's so many grass sound types considering like IRL plants don't make any noise, but it's funny how that works.
Yeah, I guess it's just the design philosophy of Pokemon just kind of lends itself to having a lot of these grass sound types, I feel.
Yeah.
It's just one you definitely see coming up again and again, obviously. Meloetta is a given. Like I just never like the idea of like a legendary being normal. Like
yeah, that
it doesn't seem right to me. And since Meloetta is, a pop star, of course you gotta make it sound type.
Right.
Also kind of a cool typing sound fighting. I don't think you see that again, so it's a pretty cool combo.
True. And do you think that Pokemon would change a legendary's type? Because some people think that they should have changed Celebi to Fairy type when that was introduced. So do you think like maybe they just don't want to touch legendaries, or do you think they'll change it?
That's a pretty good point because like Cresselia, I feel like could have been Fairy type as well. And they didn't change it. You're right. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to like give it out to too many Pokemon when it first came out, so it wouldn't be too overpowered. I mean, Fairy still is like one of the best types in the game.
That's true.
But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, maybe they wouldn't want to touch the legendaries if they were to ever add a sound type. But in my hypothetical situation, we're changing it.
Yeah, of course. I would 100% change it as well. But Game Freak is weird sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. No doubt.
Yeah, I understand.
So Litleo,
Pyroar as well. That's a good one.
Yeah. Once again, I want to get rid of, boring normal typing. It has roar in the name. One of its like main stab moves is Hyper Voice, so obviously that's gonna be, I've converted that into sound type when we go over moves. So I feel like it'd be good to give it, a stab move like with Hyper Voice as well as, the Fire Blast, whatever you're gonna be running with Pyro. Hopefully we'll kind of buff it because I feel like Pyro kind of got the short end of the stick. I think it could have been like a pretty decent like kind of speedy special attacker, but it doesn't really have the right kit and stuff, and I think its abilities aren't great. So this is just kind of a way to kind of maybe buff the Pokemon a bit. Noibat and Noivern, I think those are givens as well.
Yep.
I know people like Noibat and Noivern for being like a flying like primary typing because almost every flying type's like not like a primary flying type. But I mean like I feel really bad for Noivern. Like it just is outclassed by a lot of dragon flying types that already exist in the game, like Salamence and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think this would be a really great way to kind of help buff it, so it doesn't have that 4 times weakness to ice anymore. The origin of this entire idea is that when I saw like the box legendaries get revealed, and I think Sound and Fairy type was announced, I thought it makes sense to announce 2 types at a time like they did with Gen 2. And so I thought they'd have Veltal would be Fairy, or I'm sorry, Veltal would be Sound Flying, and then like Xerneas would be Fairy.
Or Light, people were saying.
Light would, like Light, before they announced Fairy, like Light would make sense, I think, as well. I mean, Fairy and Light kind of are pretty similar at this point in a way. But yeah, so I thought we'd get, we get the sound type with the Veltal, but we didn't. And what I didn't really like is that I hate when like a box legendaries is directly weak to the other one. So um, when like when it was real that Yveltal was going to be dark type, I was like, oh man, so Zerani's just going to smack it every single time you fight against it.
Hmm.
So um, I think this would kind of help it so that they would hit each other neutrally when you see one type interactions. Um, there's no super effectiveness between Sound and Fairy, although I did kind of consider it for a bit, but like I said, I kind of wanted it to be more equal.
Yeah.
And then Trumpbeak and Toucanon. I mean, Trumpbeak has like trumpet in the name, so I thought that was a given to
Oh,
um, give them the sound typing. And then like one of my favorite things that came up was the Oricorio quadruplets here. They're all like based off of different types of dancing. Um, and like I said before, like I kind of associate sound with dance as well.
yeah.
So they spend most of their time on the ground dancing, right?
Right.
So
It doesn't make sense that they're flying type. Yeah, I agree.
I know they're birds, but I mean, there's flightless birds, right? Why can't they just be a bunch of flightless birds, you know?
Right. Like Doduo isn't flying type, is it? Do-
No, it is. That's the weird thing. It is, but it can't fly.
yeah. Oh, it is flying.
Yeah,
Oh, that's annoying. I don't like that.
yeah, yeah. It's goofy. I mean, flying is basically the bird type, but then you can't have Crobat be bird type, right?
Yeah, they were gonna make it bird type in Gen 1, but they were like, oh, there's some other things that fly, we'll just make it flying type. Dang, I could have sworn that Dotrio was like normal ground or something.
Now they're just normal flying.
Dang.
Interestingly enough, yeah,
But yeah, also that would mean that there's a lot of like changing the Oricorios. It provides like a lot of different like varieties. Like we got psychic sound. There's like another electric sound. It's like some cool type combos there.
yeah. Definitely gives a little more variety. Drampa's kind of a reach.
This one I don't really get.
Yeah, like I said before, I was just trying to kind of buff Drampa a bit. I guess normal dragons are kind of like a cool typing.
Yeah.
But like one of its primary moves is hyper voice, which um, I'm gonna make that sound type. So I wanted to make Drampa sound type as well, but I guess you could keep the normal typing on Drampa and just it would have hyper voice as like a coverage option. That would be
Yeah.
probably be useful for it.
Yeah, that's probably the way to go.
And then obviously like the Rillaboom line. I didn't give Grookey the sound typing just because I kind of like when the starting Pokemon is just like the pure like grass, fire, or water, and then like it
Yeah.
evolves and then it gains a typing. And I think
Yeah, the only
go ahead.
Pokemon that has done that is Bulbasaur that had a dual type at the start.
I know it's so funny they just took the first one and was like, yep, nope, screw it. I know it's supposed to be this whole grass, water, fire thing, but now we're gonna make our grass starter grass poison
Yeah.
right from the rip.
Yeah.
So that's why I just want to make them grass sound. I mean, pretty obvious. Their whole motif is being a drummer, so obviously you got to make the sound. And then one of my other favorite things about like watching your video, I think we had the kind of the same idea for Toxtricity.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. That's cool.
That's really it was really cool that we had we're thinking the same thing there, where the low key form would be sound poison, the amp form would be sound electric, and so I'll go into some details later about like why and like how like the punk rock ability kind of changes in my idea for like sound type. Then Lash is a given. I mean, Obstagoon, they're based off of Kiss. Dark Sound,
Yeah.
all the way, easy.
Yep.
Dark Normal is a bad typing.
Yeah.
I mean, four times weak to fighting is not good.
Nah.
So this is a good way to kind of buff Obstagoon a bit and make him a little stronger, I bet.
Yeah. And just to touch back on Toxtricity, a lot of people commented like that they didn't really like how I changed like Toxtricity in particular, and also Seismitoad and some of the other ones that had like a key dual typing to them. And they pretty much said that when Fairy type was introduced, they only changed Pokemon that had the normal type in them, or yeah, the normal type in them. And so I think it's still good to change some of these dual types. Like I think Seismitoad makes sense, but I think a solution could be that you could kind of make it a pseudo third type, so it learns a lot of sound type moves and it like has stab on those moves without it actually being that type. Like that could be a potential like solution to that, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So like the main reason why I wanted to kind of change Toxtricity's typing is because Electric Poison is like a really cool typing. It's really unique. It's never been done
Yeah.
before. It's pretty strong offensively, but like defensively, like Toxtricity isn't very good defensively, and every single team runs a Pokemon with some sort of a ground type move, so Toxtricity just gets destroyed by that. So it's kind of my way to kind of help buff Toxtricity. I totally get why people would say you want to leave them with like, Electric Poison. Um, and I guess you could like make Punk Rock an ability that like gives him like a third stab, kind of like Delmise. So like it would be, its actual typing is, Sound Poison, or sorry, Electric Poison, but then it has like stab on sound moves.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. So obviously with the addition of a new type, you gotta have some changes to abilities. And so top of my list, Soundproof is an ability that makes Pokemon immune to sound-based moves in the original games. Um, I thought that might be a little bit too strong, so I kind of decided to make it so it would only take half damage from sound type attacks.
That makes a lot of
Um,
sense.
Maybe you could kind of give Soundproof to a few more Pokemon here and there to kind of help buff them, because definitely help giving like a free resist essentially.
Oh yeah.
Um, So that's the deal with Soundproof that I came up with. Next up would be Liquid Voice. This is Primarina's hidden ability. It makes any like sound-based move water type, right?
Yeah.
And like I think it boosts its like power by like 50% or something like that. Um, and so I decided to change it to like Steelworker for Delmise, where I basically would just give Primarina 3 different um, stab stabs, so have have water, fairy, and sound. Um,
Oh yeah.
because I think fairy fits Primarina. Obviously, it has to be water type, so I think this could be kind of a way to tack the sound type on
Yeah.
to Primarina. This is also be something I would maybe give to like Lapras. I think would make a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
sense to give it Liquid Voice as well, because its abilities currently are pretty bad. It's like hydration and like water absorb, but just like those aren't very good.
Yeah.
Um, maybe there's a third type. Maybe there's a third ability for Lapras. I'm forgetting, but like those two aren't really very useful on it. So I think by giving this to Lapras, it also would help it, with some more offensive presence.
Yeah. I really like what you did with Liquid Voice. My idea for Liquid Voice would just be to like make sound type moves super effective against water and ground or something like as well, which doesn't really make as much sense as like I like what you did with just making sound type moves its kind of third stab.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit easier that way.
Yeah.
It kind of already represents some of their abilities that exist, with Steelworker and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I thought that made sense. And then the Toxtricity's ability, Punk Rock. I think currently like boosts like the power of sound type moves for the Pokemon. It also resists sound type moves. I'm pretty sure that's what Punk Rock does currently. So I kind of wanted to tweak it a bit. Like we said earlier in our discussion, um, I basically wanted to give both the low key form and the amp form 3 stab each. Basically, like I didn't want to take away
Yeah.
their stab. So this is kind of my way to make up for the fact that I did kind of eliminate their dual typing by putting sound in for both.
Yeah.
And so by doing this, it would still maintain um, like I think Punk Rock boosts the abuser's electric type move. So I think I would give that to the low key form.
Yeah. The one that doesn't have.
Yeah, the low key
Yeah.
form. Yeah, would get Punk Rock. So then it would have sound, poison, electric stab, and then the amped form would get Gunk Rock. Kind of a clever name, I thought. Would give it poison.
Is that-
poison stab?
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's a really good
then
solution.
also kind of buffs its defenses a bit more. Even though it already resists sound, it would just resist it more. Make it maybe a little bit stronger. This is all I had though for abilities that I could think of right off the top of my head, and kind of looking over things that's currently in the game. And then last, just some like random things here and there. items and stuff like that. Um, Gotta have a plate for
Yeah,
Arceus, so I added the acoustic tape or plate. I mean,
I
um,
like that.
you didn't really touch on items. I don't think in your video, right?
No, I didn't. So yeah, this is good because I didn't really consider items.
Yeah, so this is all I can really think of off the top of my head though here too. I'd also add a sound memory for Silvally so it could become sound type.
Oh yeah,
Um, Throat spray, I would just tweak it a little bit, just make it so when it's a sound type move instead of a sound based move or whatever they say in the game currently, where it's like a sound
yeah.
move or whatever. Um, and then I also added throat chop because throat chop currently like makes it so I think is it they can't use a sound move for like a couple
I
turns.
think yeah,
And so this is a little nice little picture of it from I think at least I think 7. Um, I just like I kind of want to keep its kind of a cool ability where it would still like have this kind of effect where it would kind of make sound type moves worse. So it would kind of I would basically add a new like status effect, kind of like gravity or like kind of those like more hidden ones that kind of exist or like confusion. Those that don't really have um, like an actual like official like status name by it or whatever by like the Pokemon's name. But like the Pokemon's throat would be how it would be like they're throat trapped, so therefore
oh,
they
okay,
can't their sound type moves aren't as strong because that's how you make the sound usually.
yeah,
So the sound type moves are weakened for a couple turns.
yeah. That's good.
And then as we kind of discussed, I also kind of wrestled with that idea of like sound type moves will have the ability to pass through substitute in disguise and stuff like that. Um, that's like the one of the hardest parts, like you said earlier about
Yeah,
that. So don't need to harp on that again, but definitely something I wanted to add to my PowerPoint.
yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah, I like the name acoustic plate. That's a nice name for the Arceus plate.
yeah, thanks. I was trying to think of like what would be the proper name because you could go a lot of different ways with it, but I thought acoustic would be a good one.
Yeah, I've just got some topic points that people have brought up that I'd want to discuss. Some of them we already went through, but just to start off, what do you think that they should call a sound type other than sound? Like some people have suggested like wave or vibration, sonic, noise, rhythm. Do you think that sound is like the best name? I think personally it is.
Yeah, I mean, some of those ones you mentioned, I was like, okay, that would probably work. Like one of the ones I would think was like vibration, but like number one, it's a long word. I don't know if
Yeah,
if it even fit. But also then I would think of like stuff like the dance moves, like and then no dance moves are no longer like relevant like vibration. They're not really relevant vibration
right.
moves. Um, Maybe Sonic. Sonic kind of makes sense, I think, but at the
Mm,
same time, once again, that kind of takes out the whole dance part of things. But then you think of rhythm, you're like, okay, rhythm might work. Rhythm could make sense. It kind of associates itself with both, dancing and
and
singing
sound, yeah.
and sound. But at the same time, like when I think of rhythm, I don't think of it like the scientific part of things. Like I don't think of the vibration part of things.
Yeah.
So I think so then like think of like noise, like you said, maybe noise, but at the same time that also would kind of eliminate once again the dance thing.
Yeah.
But um, like I don't know, I think sound probably I agree. I think it's kind of the best name for it.
Yeah.
They already have like the sound property is already a thing in the game anyways, so
Yeah.
you can just easily transform it into a type. I think.
Yeah, I agree. Sound based, I think, because they already have sound based, and sound itself is like a very good like understanding of. I think like sonic and wave is a little bit too ambiguous of what it actually is, but sound is like okay, yeah, I get it. Sound, and even like because sound does not really include dance, but at the same time, like grass includes fungi, which isn't really a plant either. So I think it makes sense as like a nice encompassing type name.
Yeah, I mean, I think about talk about fungus. Like I also kind of associate like poison type with kind of like with fungus too sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of those things also with like ice is also snow, but like it's called ice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I guess with another name that would probably work for it, I think would be solid would be music type.
Right, yeah. Yeah, music type works.
because like music would you'd get the singing parts of it, you'd get the dancing parts of it too. I feel like, and also I mean, when I think of music, I can think about how yeah, music are basically they're just vibrations. I think music would be a pretty good one too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, some people were saying that they think sound type is an uncreative type, because if they wanted to add a new sound based move, they wouldn't like it would have to be sound type because currently there's like I don't know, there's typed moves that are sound based that aren't sound type. So if they wanted to add like for example a new fire type sound based move called firecracker, they wouldn't be able to, or like a siren song water type sound based move. It kind of like limits them. And also some people say it's uncreative because it's like limited to only Pokemon that can make loud noises or are a musical instrument compared to other types that are more diverse in their inspiration. So do you think like sound type would be an uncreative type?
No, I don't think at all.
Nah, me neither.
I mean, most of those like examples you gave me, I can think of like immediate like I can immediately debunk stuff that you said there.
Yeah.
Like that new like a lot of the Hisuian like new moves are like why is that type? To at least I think that
Yeah.
like there's like Hisuian type Flosion's like new signature move is called Infernal Parade, I think. And like, oh, it's infernal, so therefore it has to be fire type, right? No, is it a ghost type? I'm pretty sure it's ghost type.
Uh,
Um,
I'm
and
not
then
familiar.
um, so like, and there's like other moves where it's like it says one thing, but like you don't really think it would be that typing.
Oh,
Like another
exactly. Yeah.
example, like when I hear Oblivion Wing, even though it has wing in the name, I kind of think of Dark type, even though it is a flying type move.
Yeah.
So I think there's a number of moves in the game already where you think it's going to be this type, but it ends up being another type.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, so I think like with Firecracker, like if that was a move, you can make it fire or like sound, and I wouldn't like be like annoyed by it, or I wouldn't be like why they picked that. I think either way would make sense.
Yeah.
Um, with that, um, and also you talked about how like sound is limiting. I mean, like look at this like diversity. Like
Exactly.
we have like little balls. We have ghosts, like little like alien looking things like Chimecho is. You have like birds and bugs and plants,
I think.
dragons.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, maybe not including Drampa, but um, Noiva are definitely dragons. Like I don't know, like you have gorillas. Like I think like that's like almost immediately disproven. Like
Yeah.
and I think it would like only problem maybe that somebody would have with like a sound type or music type would that it would like introduce like maybe a lot of inanimate objects like Pokemon, which people like seem to dislike.
Potentially.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
so like you could have like a Pokemon that's like a xylophone or something like that, and there's like, oh, that's stupid. It's just a xylophone, but it's alive. Like
Yeah.
why?
But at the same
But
time, like, Cricketune is a violin Pokemon, but it's kind of incorporated into its design. It's not literally a violin, so. And like Maractus, there, it's maracas, but it's not literally a maraca. So, like, even instrument Pokemon, I think, still could be like great designs. Like, they already have examples of that.
yeah, for sure. I don't think it can be uncreative. Like I said, like I mean, there's like these little dancing birds. Like
Exactly.
we have a pop star. We have a rock star, and like
If anything,
like I don't know, like an opera singer. I guess I don't know what you really consider Primarina, but I
well,
think that's a pretty weak argument. I'd say. I don't think any like type is uncreative really. You know.
oh, exactly, yeah. There's so much inspiration for any type. But if anything, I think sound type would be one of the most creative just because of how many like aspects of sound there is. Like comparing it to fire type, what there's like lava, fire, smoke. That's kind of like the extent of it. But for sound, there's like the physical, you know, like powerful uses of sound. So like I say oh, what's his name? Closter with like the powerful jets of sound, and like then there's Loudred who like says, you know, has loud voice. But then there's also like music. So Meloetta like sings, Jigglypuff sings. So there's like the music aspect of it. Then there's the dance aspect of it. So you've got the Ori choreos. You've got like I don't know, like Blossom and stuff like that. So Pokemon who dance. So there's like an entirely another side of it where you can go into inspirations of dance, and then there's like the musical instrument inspiration, and then there's like even just like singers, like you said punk rock, you said like opera singers. I feel like there's just a vast amount of inspiration to pull from, like just like with any type. I don't think it's uncreative at all.
Yeah, I mean, you could like make so many interesting unique Pokemon. It's like going through the genres of music,
Yeah,
obviously they have a violin Pokemon in Kricketune, they have a maraca Pokemon in Maractus, and they're not just inanimate objects. You know, they just
exactly.
like I said, they're innately built into the design. So like, I think those are really like cool designs, and I think they could really easily like, you know, introduce an instrument through like an actual like animal or bug or whatever,
Yeah,
or little creature. You know, yeah, yeah. I forgot you had Clawitzer sound type. I think that's awesome because I love Clawitzer. I think it's a really cool Pokemon that can use a nice little buff by getting another typing. I think.
yeah,
Since yeah, I mean that's kind of what they do. They have such like they snap their pincer like so fast that like the sound wave like causes the water or whatever to boil or something.
yeah.
It's that like that makes sense.
So another point, some people say that pure sound type Pokemon wouldn't exist because you can't be made of sound. That's something someone would said.
Yeah, that's not a very strong argument either. Like
Like think
like
Cyndaquil,
there's aren't
it's not really made of
yep
fire, or like there are
right.
Pokemon that are pure types that aren't exactly made of it.
Yeah, like any like electric type other than like Rotom like is not like pure electric energy or like Regieleki like Pikachu is not the essence of electricity into a mouse. It's literally just like a mouse that can also like cause electricity. It's not like it's
Yeah,
made of like electrical currents. It's a pretty weak argument.
yeah.
Some haters, like some sound type haters out there, man. That's what I've heard.
No, there was a fair few people like agreeing, but I was just pulling all the people who didn't agree. Um, so some people think that sound type wouldn't get a new evolution, wouldn't, because with each new evolution they increase one of the stats to be higher than all the other evolutions. So for example, like Glaceon had the highest special attack, and I don't know, Sylveon had the highest health or something, and they've already gone through them all. That's what someone said, so they wouldn't add anymore because they've already gone through all the status types, status you know, things.
Yeah. Sure they haven't. Maybe they haven't because like the highest stat for all the evolution is like what 130.
Think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I mean maybe 130 has already been in all six positions of like the of the of like the stat
Stats.
lines, but like I don't think every single combination of like the evolution stats has been made yet, you know?
No, that's true.
Like there'd be like a lot of them, wouldn't there? Um
Oh, that would be
like that's really
that'd be like
that's very
hundreds.
hard to like there yeah, it'd be like it'd be a huge like number there.
Hmm.
Like okay, look at it. Here's a great example right here. Let's see it. So then I'll look. I got it pulled up here. They have the options of having 130, 65, 95, 60, 110. I think that's all their options that like for like each stat. It's 130, yeah, 65.
Of the
Yeah, like you
stats.
can do a different combination because like I'm looking at HP right now, and not a single evolution currently has an HP stat of 110.
Oh yeah.
It's all 130, 65, 95, and 95. There isn't a one that has 110 yet, you know? Um, Most of them actually have 65, so there's probably a ton of different combinations still left they haven't even touched.
Yeah.
Um, so I think they could very easily make another evolution. The question is if they'll ever make one ever again.
I think that
So
it's
like
it's pretty much guaranteed that we will get a new evolution within the next like 5 years, whether it be sound type or whether it be like another type, either for Gen 9 or Gen 10. I think that yeah, sound type makes sense. I think also dragon could make sense, because they kind of have a trend of doing just the special typed and dragon, I think it also is included in the special type. They could also just do another normal evolution of Eevee. But also going back to the stats point, I think they could make sound type the weakest stat, so like make them all 60 or something. It would make it not great, like viable, but it's at least different than the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they just keep the strategy of like this tradition of it, like the total like base stat is like 525, and then they only have those like, like however many options for their stats. Like, yeah, they have two stats that are always 65. They have one that's 130, they have one that's 60, they have one that's 110, and one that's 95. That's how it's always been. I don't think they'll ever change that.
Yeah.
I have heard that thing about like they only make Pokemon that um, that are are special, usually special based. But at the same time, like granted, there's only a couple, but um, Leafeon and Flareon are both physical attackers. They have like Flareon has a base 130 attack, Leafeon has a base 110 attack. Um, so, but the thing is, neither of them have like none of them have like crazy fast speed. Like the only Pokemon out of the evolution that has the crazy fast speed is only Jolteon.
Yeah. And sound would be quite a fast one, so they could do another speedy evolution.
I mean, I feel like sound would make sense to be another special based,
Oh, that's fair.
special attacking based.
I guess another one is like, do you think there are too many sound type Pokemon that would be changed?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I know our lists kind of differ, and we've talked about like maybe some newer Pokemon we've kind of like thought about more. So we're like, oh yeah, we could probably add those, Mr. Rhyme and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm looking, looking at the list. There's what? Okay, for 10, 11, 16. So there's roughly probably like around maybe 50.
Yeah. And
Problem is, Oricorio is like one Pokemon over and over again, so like
yeah,
I don't
that's
know if you
true.
really count that. So it's probably closer to maybe like 45 or so. So honestly, it's a pretty low amount. I definitely don't think it'd be too many. But I mean, Fairy type started out pretty low, and they've been really cranking the Fairy type numbers ever since Fairy type came out. So I
I
feel they probably do. There'd be probably a large insurgence of Sound type for like a couple gens.
Yeah. I think it would be I feel like it would be a smoother transition adding this sound type because we both kind of agree around 40, 45 Pokemon would change to sound type. But when Fairy was introduced, only 20 got changed to sound type, and now they're at 65. So they just kind of had to cram in a bunch of new Fairy type Pokemon, which kind of made it feel like, I don't know, like a massive change. Whereas they would probably only have to introduce just a couple new sound type Pokemon per gen compared to like the big influx of all the Fairy types they introduced. So it definitely feels more like a natural kind of transition because there's already so much to pull from.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I totally agree with you there. Like, I think there's would be a lot of Pokemon right off the rip that would convert to Sound type, and so then yeah, you wouldn't have to have that like crazy influx of a bunch of Sound type Pokemon like they did with Fairy, because Fairy makes a lot of sense. Like, I think it's a good typing they've added. I don't think you can make a case for like making Jigglypuff Light type anymore.
No,
Like, I think Fairy makes sense for Jigglypuff.
exactly.
Any pink blob is Fairy type in my eyes. I still think Chansey and Blissey should be like normal Fairy or just Fairy um, as well. But yeah, I think they wouldn't have to like cram as many in. They could just make maybe like 5 or whatever a gen, 5 or 6 every gen or whatever, and that'd be enough. And there'd be plenty of options, obviously.
Yeah. And just a point that I came up with, like I just thought of just then, with the introduction of Steel and Dark, that was kind of introduced just because it's like the second gen. They realized they could do like kind of more with the games because they probably had the ideas for them in Gen 1, but they didn't want to make it too like chaotic for the first gen, so then they just added it in the second gen. But then we kind of didn't go for a new type for a while, and then the new type that they did add, Fairy, it definitely has like a lot of strategic elements to it. Like obviously it was there to balance down Dragon type, but also it's kind of a marketing thing, so they can kind of introduce a lot more kind of cuter Pokemon. I wonder if like there's any kind of marketing benefit to introducing a sound type that they might think like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. We should introduce sound type because of XYZ, not just because of like balancing. Do you think there's like any aspect of that?
Yeah, I do. I agree. Like, not so much just like it would appear to girls, but it's like people that like cute things, you know?
Yeah.
Like, fairy types are cute Pokemon. There's no denying it. And I mean, a big part of like Dark and Steel, where they were actually there to balance the game as well, because like psychic types were running rampant in Gen 1. Like, they were way overpowered.
Oh, that's
So
right.
they wanted
Yeah.
to come up with an idea to like help nerf it. And so they came up with Dark type to directly counter it, and then Steel resists Psychic as well. Um, which I always thought was stupid because I always thought, if you have mind powers, you can bend metal. But
Oh, that's
um,
such a good point, actually.
so like um, and I think like we both agree like that sound could really balance the game a bit, and that's what they tried to do with with Fairy, Dark, and Steel. Um, I also think it's a way to like kind of keep things fresh. Adding a new type here and there is like
Yeah.
offers a lot more creativity. Like, it's exciting. Um,
Yeah.
I think a lot of these Pokemon like are appealing because they're cool. Like, always thought Exploud looks really cool. I think he's a really cool design. I mean, like Kricketune like iconic for his ridiculous cry and stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, breathing some life into him by adding a new typing and maybe buffing his stats like a little bit could make him so he'd be more relevant and like more marketable or memeable. Um, and like Noivern's super cool. Like, Rillaboom's really cool. Like, Obstagoon and Toxtricity are really cool. So I think a lot of sound type Pokemon could potentially like be really cool and like appeal to that kind of a vibe. Like, where Fairy's like cute things, and like Steel sounds like the cool type. It's the metal type. It's the rave type or whatever. Like, it has a lot of like, energy or whatever that kind of exudes from the Pokemon that are associated with the typing.
Yeah.
Um,
And also,
so I think
oh yeah,
I
go
think it
on.
would be very valuable if they introduced it.
Yeah, exactly. And like all these, like you mentioned, how older Pokemon would get like revamped. They could even just like use it as an excuse to give old Pokemon new evolutions. Like Chatot definitely could use a new evolution. Like what else? Like there's some other ones like Spinder maybe.
Give Maractus an evolution. Like, why not?
Yeah. Oh, what could a Maractus evolution look like? Do you think? Like
What's that Digimon that's just like a giant cactus man?
Oh yeah. Um. Yeah, there's probably some inspiration there for like an instrument, like another instrument that they could use for that.
I mean, like, it's pretty obvious Gen 9's gonna be Spain based, right?
Yeah.
And like, aren't maracas like of like a Spanish origin or like a Hispanic origin?
Yeah.
They could probably easily like bring in like a bigger, more like ornate, cactus or something that still has the like maracas as like a motif. It would fit the region really well.
Yeah. And
Or you could like give them like a different kind of interesting instrument. Like, what are those little things you clap? You like little
the hand clapping
cat.
things.
Yeah, the casta something or others. The casta nets or something. They're usually like sit it with like Spanish or like Portuguese or like Latino stuff, like music. Like, maybe have some sort of a castanets evolution to Maractus or something.
Well, yeah. This like with
Or like do like a rose like Roselia thing. Like, add in a pre-evolution to Maractus and then like an evolution to Maractus.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Maractus pre-evolution would be pretty cute. But yeah, with Spain, like there's so much like music influence in Spanish culture that they could easily pull from to make a sound type.
Yeah, it's like one of these. I'm just praying. I'm praying it'll be added
Sadly,
because like we just said, there's so much music involved in Spanish culture and everything, and
yeah.
I think, did you make the point of like it made a lot of sense for sound to be added last gen, but they didn't? Was it your video that you talked about like the time to add sound type was like last gen, but they didn't do it, like with the whole like like motif of like Obstagoon being Kiss and like
Yeah.
Toxtricity? Was that your video?
I didn't touch on it in my video, but last time we recorded this, I was talking about it. Someone else might have talked about it in another video, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe it was last time we talked about it, but it was someone else. Either way, like we both agreed on that. Like, we're like, it made so much sense to
Oh,
add it
for
with like
sure.
like just looking at our list right here, like there is, you know, at least there was at least like, 7 Pokemon right off the just from
Exactly.
Gen 8 that could have easily been made sound type. And also like you mentioned like, Mr. Mime, like Galarian Mr. Mime
Yep.
and Mr. Rhyme could be sound type as their tap dancers.
And that
Like
gym.
there's another couple, and yeah, the gym, like that whole entire idea was like he was a rock star, like
Yep.
it made so much sense for them to add it, and they didn't. And like and so it's just, I kind of like lost hope. I was like, if they don't add it in this gen, they're never gonna add it. And then they announced like no Gen 9, and it's like, oh, this is Spain. Like there's so much music involved in Spain, such a big part of the culture. Maybe we'll still, maybe there's still hope we'll get it.
Maybe. I kind of had a theory for a little bit that they were going to, but then they kind of like bailed at the last minute because it was kind of like a rushed game, so they didn't want to like, I don't know, mess up too much. But did you see like for the Gen 9 reveal trailer, there was a little circle on the floor that showed all the types?
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to like kind of talk about that with you. Like I thought about like we could like do like a video or something together or something where we just like go frame by frame of the trailer, like where they
Yeah.
have that square of the circle, and we could try to look to see if there's a new typing on the ground. I did watch it back a couple times. I never noticed that. I tried to count them all as well to see if I counted 18 because
Yeah.
that's the current amount. I was trying to see if there's maybe 19 instead, or if there's any symbols that I didn't recognize,
Oh,
but I
really?
couldn't really quite find anything.
I think some people are saying that it looks like it's 18, but it's interesting that they even showed like a type chart. So like maybe this might be going a bit conspiracy theorist, but maybe they purposely didn't show one of the types, like they edited it and then they're gonna show it later. It's definitely a bit conspiracy theorist, but
Yeah, no, that's just having speculation and kind of hoping. It's kind of copium, or hopium, I guess. It's
yeah,
it's hopium. It's not copium yet. It's hopium.
yeah.
That like they're hiding it. They edit it out, or maybe like, oh, they're gonna like the sound type will be in the middle because it's the new type and it'll have like a special like place in the new region or something. Um,
Oh, maybe. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know how that would make sense lore wise, but like maybe like this new Spanish region is one of the first to identify that sound type is a thing, and then they're kind of like promoting it. Like, guys, we've discovered this sound type.
yeah, I mean, how they justify like fairy type and like they went back and retyped Pokemon? I don't know how they did that. Like,
Yeah, that didn't
if
make
they even
sense.
made it. I don't know if they even bothered to do that.
You know, I would be down just for any new type, like even if it's just something completely wacky like food type. If it introduces like new moves and like new interactions and some kind of like new creative element to the game, like I'm all for it, you know.
Oh yeah, that for sure. Like honestly, like I said, sounds like an instant purchase stream, but like I would honestly, if they added some other typing that was like looked cool and like made sense, I'd be like, I gotta kind of see what's up with this. Got an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
That's like why like to me like Gen 6 was so exciting because like, it was the first gimmick gen, so I was like, oh man, Mega Evolution is gonna be so cool. Like we're gonna get like new Mega Evolutions every single gen now. Like
Yeah.
we got a new typing too. Like this is awesome. This is so cool. And then they just dropped it, and I just ever since then I've been jaded about it.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things about Mega Evolution is just seeing the new designs. Like, it's such a like a weird thing to be excited about, but it is kind of cool just seeing like, oh, what would a fourth evolution of this Pokemon look like? I feel like that's just like such a fun thing, and so many people were making like fan art of what they think it could be, and then it's like Z moves can't like compare to that, and Gigantamax forms are pretty cool, but I don't know, they should have just kept Mega Evolutions. Maybe it wouldn't have been such a hard sell. Like they wouldn't have really been able to, put it on the box art like brand new, you know, gimmick. But I think it definitely should have just kept with Mega Evolutions. So I didn't fit everything in one video. This video, despite being 2 hours long, I didn't actually fit everything I wanted to. So I'm making a part 3. Might as well make it a Netflix documentary at this point. So in part 3, I'll give you guys a little preview, a little teaser. In part 3, I'm going to be going over brand new sound type Pokemon ideas. So literally just like fan made Pokemon ideas. So please, if somehow you made it this far in the video, what? How? Thank you. But if you if you made it this far in the video, give me your original Pokemon sound type ideas, because part 3 is gonna be hella sick. It's gonna be the final part. It's gonna be like Attack on Titan, where it's like season 4, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's gonna be like the longest running series in the world. But the final part 3, I'm gonna be going over brand new sound type Pokemon ideas. So please give me your ideas. I'd love to hear them. But also we're gonna be going over some other stuff, some more comments, some more rebuttals. So please give more comments on this video too. I'll go over them. And we're also going to go over how other like fan games, like Xenoverse implemented sound type, maybe even like how other YouTubers implemented sound type. What else? I think, I guess like my honest conclusion on sound type. I mean, you guys probably know my honest conclusion if you've watched this far into the video, but I guess I'll touch back on that. So yeah, get excited for part 3. Hopefully won't be as long as this, but I can't make any guarantees. Thank you for watching. And this is probably going to become a series on this channel, you know, covering Pokemon types fully in depth like this. It was a lot of fun, so, well, it's not over yet. Please give me some more ideas of types you want to see me cover in the future. Some types I've got written down are like light type, cosmic type, and some other ones. So if you want to see me cover any types in particular, definitely comment it. And yeah, that's about it for Pokemon sound type Pokemon part 2. So I'll see you all in part 3. That's probably not what the next video is going to be, by the way. I've got another fun little series planned. It's a kind of a unique spin on a Nuzlocke. If you guys know what a Nuzlocke is, it's a unique spin, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be happening very soon. Hopefully within the next week, I'm going to get out a nice, brand new, never been done before Pokemon Nuzlocke. And you'll see how it works. It's pretty cool. And anyways, thank you for watching. I'll do the very generic YouTuber stuff. Subscribe. Smash that. Okay, I'm not saying that. Alright, bye.